Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 18 of the Council Forcecast. This one's coming up immediately after Connor's 17th, which is an interesting speed for us. There's a reason for that, but it's my fault, basically. With me today, Evan Nova.
Hello.
Jen Sarai.
Hello.
Antoine Bandelay.
Live long and prosper.
And, very rarely, Matt
Wrong
Chapman.
franchise. Me.
We have a full council assembly for this momentous of occasions.
Yes, very momentous. Very momentous. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, is here. And
we have thoughts on it. Should we start with Matt, because he's always the...
Yeah, sorry, Matt.
Just general
for me.
thoughts.
Okay. Me, I had fun, and I've heard somebody else describe it as kind of like a Star Wars greatest hits played by kind of a lousy cover band. And while I think that's a little harsh, that's basically how I feel.
Okay. And Antoine?
That is like the consensus for everybody. Whether they like it or not, like that's definitely it. So I'm coming into this because with 3 viewings. Really, it was because I had such mixed feelings on the first viewing that I didn't understand why and what was it that made me feel that way. So I went in a second time, and I definitely, like, each time I've watched it, second and third time, it's gotten better. But my initial mixed feelings were, I think it was because of how much it pandered to the original trilogy and how much it pandered to that original plot line. Although I think when people are trying to say it's like exactly A New Hope, it's not exactly A New Hope. Although it is a mix of A New Hope and Empire, like, together. It does take its own, like, vibe out of it. It's definitely not like the same exact thing going with it, but that did make me feel uneasy with it. And there was something missing about it too, and I wasn't sure what it was when I first, like, I wasn't excited when I first watched it. When I first got out of the theater, I wasn't like, oh, I was like expecting it to be like a knock it out of the park, or that's where I want it. I wanted to be like, oh, Star Wars is back. I'm like totally in it. My friends were like that because I think it's probably because they're more casual and they were just like totally into it. And I was just like something was just off, and I just couldn't figure it out. But on further viewings, I definitely like started vibing with it more.
Okay, so Connor?
My feelings are extremely mixed. It wasn't a bad movie in and of itself, but I found it kind of bland. Like, it's like what Matt said, Star Wars greatest hits played by a bad cover band. It's like, it felt like, as a hardcore expanded universe fan, this is going to be something I'll be saying a lot, but it felt very derivative. It's like if it wasn't rehashing elements from the original trilogy, it was lifting stuff from the EU, and some stuff it handled very well. I will give it credit there, but there was a lot of stuff I feel could have been handled better.
Okay, Evan?
Yeah, I kind of have like a similar opinion to Antoine, where I did enjoy the movie. It was a very, fun romp. I definitely enjoyed, just seeing that universe brought to life again. But again, my general opinion is kind of mixed. There were a lot of things I really did like, but again, like, the pandering to the original trilogy got old real quick for me. And while there were a lot of moments where I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm actually seeing this is happening, when I kind of like left the movie theater, I didn't feel like, I definitely feel like I should have been more excited than I really was. So I definitely, like, there's just like something didn't click. Like when I left the theater, I was just like something's missing, but I can't quite like see it. There's just like some spark just wasn't there. But I still enjoyed the movie overall. Like, just as a film, like, just taking the film like completely on its own merits, it is a good time.
Yeah,
I will
That's
say that.
the only way I could enjoy it.
Like, I didn't hate myself for seeing it. I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Well, this is an interesting turn of events then, because for the first time in this council's history, I am the one who's going to take the extreme route. I'm surprised by Connor, actually. I despise this film. I found it boring and insulting and painful to watch from almost the start. And I went into this, I would like to have it known, I swear I went into this with the Antoine hat of optimism.
Antoine hat of optimism.
And looking into it, not from the new perspective, because I knew it was going to disappoint me in that regard, and that's not why I dislike it. Mostly, that's just kind of an after effect. But From the core, I just do not understand why anyone is not giving this the prequel treatment. No, I do get it because it's less offensive than the prequels, kind of in the face. But for me, I'm like, really, this is what you're giving us, and everyone's eating it. Why?
I have thoughts about that actually.
Okay.
Directly hopping off of that, and that's the reason why I think there was a lot of pandering, is because that's basically what those fans asked for. They really were like, oh, we don't want what the prequel trilogy gave us, which I'm actually going to make a point. I actually think I enjoy what the prequel trilogy was trying to attempt, even though the execution was poor.
Oh, for sure.
More so than what this movie presented to us. Like, I didn't want, like, my love for Star Wars does not come from the plot. You know what I mean? Like the sequence of events. It comes from the characters, which is something I really did enjoy about this movie. And I think that's part of what I really enjoyed about it. I always felt that Star Wars was at its best when it's like a Dungeons and Dragons, campaign, or if you're doing a D20 campaign, which I
characters get together, go here to accomplish this.
All these things, and I felt like that was done really well for the first two, like up until the midway point of Maz Kanata's castle. Oh, which, by the way, how are we dealing with spoilers?
I think we'll skip the non-spoilers territory because we can't talk about this without going into spoilers.
Yeah.
People are going to want to watch the film anyway.
Completely spoiler review, guys.
Yeah, so it's warning spoilers.
And come on, everyone's seen the movie at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
We haven't given any up till this point.
Yeah, nothing
in the conversation anyway.
So if you want to leave now, you've got our general opinions. I probably come across as a little too harsh in what I mean, but I'll explain my points in a minute.
We'll get
Well,
and as
I
we
don't
go
think
through
you're too harsh. It's your opinion.
Your opinion is your opinion. Talk about what you talk about, how it made you feel. Don't try to worry about what people think of you.
Yeah, I understand people who do enjoy this for the record. I'm not one of the haters.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, as we talk about it sequence for sequence, I'll talk about more how I felt like it was like, that D20 campaign that I enjoy so much about, like the Star Wars adventures and things like that. But yeah, like I said, the reason I think that this movie was what it was is because people basically asked for it, and they were so afraid of being equated to the prequel trilogy, and they kind of went out of their way, I think, a little bit too much to appease. So yeah,
and I think that's why I dislike it more than some others as well, because based on a film perspective, it's not doing anything terrible, but based on the Star Wars universe perspective, even the new universe, not counting the EU stuff again, I wasn't going in from that lens. What's happening on Coruscant? What's the current political climate of the world? Where are any planets? You see 3 planets in this film,
it's
2 of which are unnamed,
sure.
And one of them should have been Tatooine. I mean, why was it Jakku? Little things like that, and never mentioned. They give one line, and that's it. Doesn't touch on it, it leaves you questioning and going, "What?" Which is the sort of thing that was supposed to be avoided by them getting rid of the EU. So I wasn't
like everything you said when you first gave your opinion. I wasn't bored. That's the only thing you said that I wasn't bored at all. I was confused a lot. Where I didn't, where I felt like this scene works, but it came too soon, or it didn't earn the right to play out the way that it has.
Exactly how I felt for a lot of it.
And so there's a lot of it that I enjoyed the pieces of, but there was no groundwork to it. And for me, I think we all just said our opinions. I was trying to be real spoiler free, and still maybe am, but we kind of checked that out. The movie felt very self-aware to me, and that was kind of a problem. It knows it's a Star Wars movie. It knows you've seen the other things, and it doesn't really make even the pretense of going about the song and dance of mystery. It's just going to say, here's this, you already guessed it, here it is. And that's a little less fun than Luke, I'm your father, or those kind of scenes aren't there. It just kind of tells you what's going on right off the bat. And that's a little...
Yeah, there's very little that mystery. It's definitely very in your face, which is something like for me, personally, there was a lot of what kind of moments. It was like you hear about I was hearing about something. It's like I was like, wait, what? This happened? Wait, huh? It's like, okay, we're not gonna talk about that. Okay, it's just like I could handle a couple of those, but the thing is, there were tons of moments like that, for me in this movie, and it got a little jarring after a while. It's like, to be honest, I almost feel like there was a whole nother movie that we never got. I feel like they talk about so much things that happened in past tense. I felt like I was watching a sequel to something that already happened. It's like, wait, is this episode 7 or is this episode 8?
Yeah.
And to jump off of that, let's say your thing real quick.
Sorry, just one thing. The 90% of the things I think are wrong with this film, you could equally apply to the original trilogy, but it doesn't affect that because it was the original trilogy. It was the first starting point. We've had 25 years of Star Wars by this point, even not counting the EU, 25 years to just mull it over.
These are
affects our
lessons that they
perspective.
should have learned.
Yeah, the stuff that it's showing us is like, oh well, look, we're doing this, we're not telling you this because the original didn't, and you didn't mind. But the thing is, we now know that exists, even going by just the prequels, like Coruscant being a thing, the Republic being a thing, the history of the Jedi, etc. It just no mention, nothing, just throws it away.
Yeah.
Oh, the New Republic exists. Moving on. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So that's not what's going on in the galaxy right now? That kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That's how I felt every time somebody said Snoke's name. I was like, well, who the hell is this guy?
Again, Snoke.
Yeah, I mean,
He's supposed to be the main villain. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Yeah.
How did he get to his position? What's the?
Yeah.
We don't even know what the First Order is. It
See-
alludes to it not even being the Empire, which so logically you
Yeah.
think, oh, well, it's just the lovers of the Empire, but it never actually says that.
Right.
It says it's from
No,
the
I know
ashes.
we're
The
gonna
opening scroll
get
does
more.
say it's from the
Yeah,
ashes. of
they
the
do
Empire.
mention that at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
They do. It's not really that they didn't try to give you any information. It's just that, like Alan said, if you compare it, if you try to correlate it exactly with the original trilogy, which this goes through the motions of, it worked then, but it doesn't work this time. In part because, I mean, you know that there's an emperor, like there's an empire, so there's going to be an emperor, but he doesn't really play a role until the third movie.
Yeah.
So you didn't need him to be, well, here's what he is and here's what he's about. Snoke's doing stuff in this movie, and I can't relate to what's going on because I don't know who he is or why he's doing anything.
Why we should care.
Yeah, and that kind of feeling can be applied to a lot of the stuff going on in this movie. That's just an example.
Yeah, so that's my general view on that. Like, a lot of what I'm saying and what I'm criticizing, yes, you could say exactly the same thing for the original trilogy, but back then it was different, a different time. So
Right.
they
Totally
moved
agree.
on from that point. So I just want to justify that before we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you want to say,
It's-
Antoine?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that leads right into the opening because we have the character whose name I can't even think of, but the guy who's talking to Poe Dameron, the old guy. Don't know if he even was named.
Max von
If he
Sydow
was named, then
character.
it wasn't really important because
Such
When
a
he
waste
spoke
of a
at the title.
cast. Such a waste of a cast, by the way. I just want to throw that
Max
out.
von Sydow. They wasted Max von Sydow.
I love Max von Sydow. It's like, really? Like Max von Sydow in Star Wars. And I'm like, yeah.
just before we get to that, let's rewind a tiny bit to the opening credits, because that was the start of it and the big
Yeah, so
awesome
should we
bit.
go?
Yeah, I just
I
want
think
to.
the opening shot is amazing.
I just, like, did anyone else, like, their heart kind of like
Yes.
when they saw the
That was a
opening
perfect
call, I was like,
opening
That was gonna happen. That was bound to happen. That
I know,
awesome-
but just like the fact that you were there, I was just like, oh
yeah,
my.
it's like with that. That's just the Star Wars in us. It's just great. It was amazing.
Yeah, like my heart literally like skipped a beat there for a second. I was
and,
like, yeah.
and then you
Can I
read
ask
that
a-
first line.
Can
And
I
I was
ask a
like,
question though?
That first
Like,
one I was fine with entirely.
Whoa,
Because
Matt, what?
I don't know if I blinked and missed it. Did it not say a long time ago in a galaxy
It did,
far,
it did,
far
yeah.
away?
Yeah,
it
It
did.
did?
It did.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that
All
was
right.
great. I
Because
love
I
that.
didn't notice it. I must have been looking at my shoes or something.
Yeah, I'd actually thought they might have not put that in.
Yeah.
And I did. Yeah, no, they did at the end.
No, they did.
So
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
like
they
I
did.
just
that
didn't-
opening crawl is like, oh my god, like this is happening again.
Yeah,
There was
Um,
something
That was
different.
fantastic.
It
Like
took me
hearing
by
that
surprise.
music again, just
yeah,
wow.
it was amazing. But then the first line happened, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
great.
let's begin. Let's go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go scene by scene. Well, not scene by scene, but like general scene and just deconstruct the movie and give our opinions. So opening crawl. Let's just start with that.
Hold on. I actually have it here.
I was gonna
What?
say we should have got that ready. I thought to put that.
Well, no, because it's in the novelization, so it's cool. So it says,
Oh,
Luke
sorry.
Skywalker has vanished. In his absence, the sinister First Order has risen from the ashes of the Empire and will not rest until Skywalker, the last Jedi, has been destroyed. With the support of the Republic, General Leia Organa leads a brave resistance. She is desperate to find her brother Luke and gain his help in restoring peace and justice to the galaxy. Leia has sent her most daring pilot on a secret mission to Jakku, where an old ally has discovered a clue to Luke's whereabouts.
So straight
Right.
off, they've actually contradicted themselves because the First Order isn't interested in the Jedi. From what we get in the film, it's only the Knights of Ren. And second of all, our worst fears happened with the whole Luke being a hermit
Well, not
for
our
30
worst
years.
fears. At least not mine.
Almost our
Yeah, it
worst
wasn't
fears.
mine.
Almost our
mine.
worst
They-
fears. They give
they
a throwaway
tried
line
to-
to justify it.
Yeah, they tried to justify it like
We'll get
They
to
still
that when we
haven't-
get to the
we haven't
scene. When we
even-
get to the
they haven't
scene,
even-
yeah.
They haven't even explained it
No,
yet.
they didn't
like
explain it.
why?
But
Yeah.
what it does, well, we'll save it for the scene, yeah. But I
Yeah.
hate it. And that
Yeah,
was
we'll save it
that
for
was
the
that
scene.
was the start of me going, okay, well, they've lost that point then. Moving on. So should we go to the first scene then after the credits?
Yes, let's do that. The opening.
Expedition dump. The opening. No, sorry. First, the great shot. Opening shot. That was awesome.
yeah.
That was
Dude,
amazing.
like-
with the moon. With
I
the,
love that.
That was perfection.
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
It was the same ship shot that they have to do, but it was unique. I loved it.
Yeah, it was coming like this way instead of coming this way, as it typically does.
Yeah, and you had the troop transports to sort of make it unique as well. I really liked the way they did that.
Very well done.
But then it panned
So they
down
go,
to,
and then they go to Jakku.
yeah, then it panned down to Expedition Dump, the intro scene.
Yes, we have Poe Dameron speaking to the wasted cast. I'm sorry, it's just like really.
We seem to have like this established past with Kylo. You know.
Yeah, we know
and-
like apparently this guy's like part of a religion that like worships the Force. And the only reason I know that is because I have the Force Awakens visual guide right here, but that's another thing they really don't talk about in the movie. It's like, okay, there's people that worship the Force but aren't Jedi. It's like, oh, okay, well, who are these people?
Yeah, why is that relevant? It's weird. That's odd. Well, I guess that's why it's not a film, but
Yeah.
interesting. The thing I didn't like about it is it immediately stank of exposition. Like it was pouring exposition down your throat. And it's like, oh my god, we're not even trying to have a natural conversation here. It's like, oh, the general's been looking for this for years. Yes, the general needs this. This is this because we need it, and he's going to put it in this droid so that we can do this. It's like, okay, well, you know this. Why are you saying it to each other?
Because the audience is watching.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
So expedition dump. It's like I hate it.
Yeah.
And then that entire scene following up with Poe, where he runs out and there's the whole jumping to the ship and stuff. It's like BB-8, you.
Yeah, we see the First Order for the first time. They're gunning down this village in this fight. You know, we get our first glimpse at Finn as well.
I think
His kind of detest for warfare is kind of
I
established.
actually thought that
there.
was funny because Poe was the one who killed his friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he didn't see that it was Poe, but I thought it was kind of funny that became like best buddies like throughout the movie, and he like killed his friend that he was like mourning over
Yeah.
the whole time.
And I thought the hand thing was a bit.
Yeah,
over the
that was
top.
really staged. That was really staged.
Very
like the way
that was,
he did
that
it.
was
he
just so
like,
you could tell. That was just so you could tell him out of all the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah.
For when
Yeah.
so you know that's the one that watched the other one die when he takes his mask off. That's all that's there for.
Yeah, and
You know, for sure.
is it just me or was the whole? This is horrible. What was it like? Did that feel like really comical in the way they did it? Execution.
You're talking about Finn becoming
Like he's
disillusioned.
freaking
Yeah,
out.
it's like wait, what?
Yeah.
What's this?
Well, I expect that's what I mean when I say there's nothing wrong with the scene, but there's no setup to it, so it feels like it hasn't earned the right to treat me in this way, like where it expects me to follow along with it. I don't know who he is or what he's. You can get an idea from his performance that something's bugging him, but you don't really know why. And it turns out it's really just that he doesn't like it so far. It's not like well, this happened. I have a really dark story. Blah blah blah. I just don't like it, which is okay. But
like
kind of weird.
I was
and
completely
it was
fine with it.
and
yeah.
it was the war as well that threw him off, or the battle, not the execution afterwards. It's like what? So you're a stormtrooper that's
Well,
been
no, he
specifically
was
trained
cell
for this
he was
from
cell
birth?
shocked. Well, no, I mean that was
Yeah,
his first battle.
he-
Like he was cell shocked at first. He was like,
He
"Oh
was,
shoot!" Like
yeah.
it's like the Saving Private Ryan scene. Like those first soldiers who've like never been on that beach before.
I was thinking
That's
the same
something
thing.
else I was
Yeah,
about to
freaking
say.
out.
That's
Talking
something I was
about
about to
Saving
say. I
Private
hated.
Ryan, it does feel like that.
Yeah, I hated
But
that as
did
well because
anything-
that's what they were going for. Because that troop deployment made no sense. Why would they D-day it straight into the thing and not hide behind the ridge and then come up? Because
But he doesn't
Come on,
All the
that's not what
killed.
this is. That's
No,
not what
but
this is.
stormtroopers get killed as a
This
result.
is
and
a
it's-
cartoon. This is a cartoon. Have them come in.
Fair
And
enough.
you have to do their stuff. That's never what. This is not a logical battle here. That's never
Okay,
what's
so it could have
So
been quite
as
easy,
they're
though, and
they're
still been
gunning
more
down,
terrifying.
yeah. Should we talk about Poe Dameron now since he's the first?
He was too
really-
perfect. He
Yeah,
was too perfect.
Really?
He had no flaws.
was-
yeah,
He
and
was
he
kinda
disappeared
like
for half the
Wedge.
film.
He was kind of like Wedge, but like on a whole like another level of just like awesomeness, like not in a good way.
Wedge with the cheese turned up, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Although he
that's
wasn't
cool.
my favorite scene of the film, which I'll explain later.
I like Poe though. No, I'm not. Don't deny that. I just think
He's
he should have had some
insanely
more
charming.
conflict.
He is
Yeah.
insanely
Had
charming.
more
He's
conflict.
just so likable, yeah.
Like I like
He's
the
insanely
establishment of the tone in this movie based on his first interaction with Kylo when he's like, should I talk first? You I can't.
That was
can't
great.
do all this. Like, what's
That
going
was
on?
That's
great.
fantastic.
I like that.
Like that established kind
rare
of like
examples of that humor I
the
liked in the
comedic tone that was going to happen like throughout the movie, which I thought was a good establishment.
Wait, what's your name? Like it's like I can't pronounce that. I'll call you Finn.
Yeah.
No, that's my favorite scene in the film actually. But I'll explain why in a minute. But yeah, like you said, the establishment of the humor there, I agree. It was a really good establishment of it. Whether or not
Humor
you
in
like the
general in the
humor,
movie is pretty decent. I thought.
I didn't like it, but I love the establishment of the humor there from a formulaic point.
Yeah, the first time watching it, I thought the humor was a little bit overboard. Like I thought it was like too much. But then like watching it a second time, I was like, oh, actually no, it was pretty well balanced. It actually wasn't that bad.
I didn't have a problem with the humor. It was the pacing.
Mm.
It's like he shows up and he instantly like trusts him.
Yeah.
You know. To me,
Yeah.
like there was no question in Poe's mind like, hey, what's up with this guy? You know, like it was a little too. I don't know if that's scripted or what to call it, but it just didn't quite feel earned. Like
It was
that's the
very
word I keep
immediate.
using. Yeah. Yeah, we're partners now, I guess. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I think Poe
is a scene I liked, but
Poe seemed like he's a pretty good judge of character, I would say, and the fact of how out of it the
Yeah.
stormtrooper seemed, I think what
But he's
kind of
just-
helps because he was so out of his element.
He also had no
You-
choice, so and they would have
Yeah,
had
no
information
choice.
from him, so it wasn't like he.
I would have. That would have been better though if he was a little bit reluctant. Like I have no choice, so let's work with it.
That's
and
true,
then they
too.
earn their
If
friendship.
they
You know what I
say
mean?
Yeah.
They liked each other almost immediately. It's like, well, weren't you just strapped to like a thing, being mind raped like 5 minutes ago? Like, and now you're making friends,
It,
and like you're totally fine. You know,
He bounced back pretty quick.
it comes from that
no,
whole.
no consequence. Yeah.
As we said earlier, it doesn't quite take itself seriously enough. It doesn't feel realistic at all in this film. Not realistic. But,
Yeah,
you
that's
know what I
ac-
mean.
Genuine.
That
You're
right
not
there is
really
actually
genuine.
that right there is actually my personal biggest problem with this film. It's the fact that none of the stuff that went on in it felt real. It felt too much like this is a movie, and it's like going back to that self-awareness we talked about earlier. It's like every single character kind of knew on some level what sort of story they were in, and instead of treating this situation in a realistic manner like normal people would, they were instead reveling in it. It's like, it's like these characters should not be having fun. Battles are not fun. This is not something that they should be getting a thrill from. And anyone who does get a thrill from battle is usually someone who's got some problems.
I'm okay with like some of the more lighthearted tone. Like I said, I like the scene where he gives Finn his name. I just wish there was something a little bit to bridge him being broken out and them bonding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little
Like, to
longer.
me, it's not so much the lighthearted tone that bugs me about the action scenes. It's more. It was so frenetic, the pacing of it for me.
Yeah, I honestly felt like this movie could have used an extra 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, like I was
pound
sitting in the
between.
theater thinking, everyone likes to complain about the politics and the talks and the prequels, but maybe it could have used a moment to breathe and like just let's explain what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's funny
Yeah.
because I don't know if JJ completely got that because there were a lot of very slow moments and I think overcut scenes in terms of like dramatic pauses.
Yeah,
But that wasn't what we needed. We needed more
Yeah.
establishment of the world building and things
Yeah, we
like
need
that,
world
and just the
building.
establishment of what's going on versus just dramatic beats. Because I saw some people saying like, "Oh no, but it was like slow at the end." I'm like, that's not this kind of slow that we needed. We need it. It wasn't like these
Yeah.
dramatic, which were too long to begin with. Actually, I think some of the dramatic pauses, which we'll talk about later, are a little bit too
Yeah.
long. But
Yeah, we don't need slower pacing. We need fluid pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on from the escape from the. No, we'll move back to.
Oh,
They
should
crash
we
like,
also talk about? Should we also talk about that scene on Jakku where Kylo Ren uses the Force to?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, let's explain that because a lot of people in the theater, at least I was at, were like, "What?" Like all like oohing and awing at that.
Yeah, holding the.
that was
bolt
cool.
in the
Him
air.
holding the
No,
ball.
no, I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it was awesome.
yeah.
But it was just like, wow.
It-
Like I was like when I saw that, I was like, wait, what?
It was cool, but from what we see of him later, it seemed way too impressive for his power level.
Nah, I think there's some explanations for him at the end, which we'll get to.
Okay, but we'll touch on
He
that
catches
See?
a blaster bolt and
effortlessly.
like holds it there. Like,
Yeah. It's
I don't like to
the
my
pro-
knowledge, I
the-
don't think that's ever been done. Like
Yeah,
for
the
real.
problem is that in their portrayal of the force wielding characters overall, they don't really seem to understand that you need to have a correlation between your power level and your skill level. It's like, both Rey and, as we see later on in the lightsaber duel, Kylo Ren, they don't seem particularly well trained, with a lot of their feats being achieved just through natural aptitude. But the problem is that and because of that, their powers just kind of developed, from my perspective, way too quickly. It's like, here we got Rey using powers that, should have taken her years to develop. And it's like Kylo Ren. It's like reasonably impressive force wielder, but the moment you actually put him in a fight, he turns into Savage Opress.
And people say, well, it's the older you that established that, not the newer you. The newer you established Luke's difficulty with some of the techniques, and she picks up like
Very
that.
true.
Luke Skywalker struggles with some of the techniques she picks up just by guesswork, basically, on the spot. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
but there,
no,
I think
that's
there's
another
also
really
a hint.
jarring moment.
Yeah, it's very jarring when I first watched it, but when you start thinking of it, because they do plant hints, it does seem like she had something going on beforehand, and that she's unlocking something, which we'll get to again once we get to those scenes.
Yeah.
Because they're there, those hints are there. But I do agree, like there's especially at the end where she like does her thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, actually, it's like it's not even that ending sequence that like jarred me the most. It was the mind trick.
Yeah, that was one, and the humor they applied to it is like, you're taking away the mysticism of this with a cheap joke. It was funny, but it was misplaced.
I think that was fine.
Come on,
that was fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was all right personally. Yeah.
All right, I the
So
only
le-
joke
so-
I didn't like.
So I guess we should go to the next scene now. They crash on Jakku.
Yeah,
Oh, and
before they do
like-
that though, they have the in-ship moment, which is quite
Yeah,
significant because
the little conversation
yeah,
Yeah.
because that was when I loved Poe Dameron. That was him talking naturally, and I loved
to a
it.
person.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
two people talking. I was like, yes, I love it. It's like, well, I'm not
And
going
it
to call you
showed
Dad.
his-
I'm going to call you Finn. Is that okay? He's like,
Yeah.
loved it.
It was his strength as a though there was still, like you were saying before, like exposition dump. Like he like mentioned BB-8's like color. He's like, it's
Yeah.
a one of a kind orange, and like, there's stuff that there. But
And
it's
even
fun.
Poe's like,
It's
oh,
kind of
what
like-
doesn't matter what color.
yeah, why does that matter?
I don't care.
Like- but yeah, like I think that was showing Poe's one of his strengths, not just as a skill as a pilot, but also him like relating to somebody. He was
character.
really like figuring out who this kid was, like what is his mentality, and it kind of shoked through dialogue where Finn came from. He's like, oh, they didn't give us any names, like I'm pretty secluded. I don't have an identity of my own, and then like he does seem he's very boyish, like it seems like he hasn't socialized with a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Naivety with them, good naivety.
Yeah,
which I liked, but kind of didn't hold balance as well. He said he kind of felt grizzled and naive at the same time. And in that same scene, he seemed aware of the fact that he should have a name as well, as though it wasn't a surprise. So that's all the name they ever gave me, as though he knew it was odd
Like
that he
you
didn't
need a
have
name.
one.
Yeah.
Which it didn't sit well with me because the way they talk about the indoctrination later. But yeah, but besides that was my favorite scene because I loved the natural back and forth between him and Poe. And then Poe disappears for the rest of the film.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why they didn't really need him to be gone. At that
Disappear,
point.
yeah.
He could have came right with Finn the whole time.
Yep.
And they could have gone to Maz's castle and like all that stuff. That would have been fine,
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah, that was really weird. But yeah, they crash, and then like you're supposed to think that Poe's dead, even though if you watch a single trailer,
Yeah.
like
It's like tension. It's like,
yeah, you're like
Every
If you
reveal
have-
in the film
yeah.
was that way.
Yeah, if you have any sort of BS detector at all, he's not dead.
yes,
You don't even need to see. You don't need to see the trailer. You just, I know that guy's not dead. I've seen movies before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
like,
Which is
It was very
It
old
just
school
felt-
movie trope. It's like, is he dead? Maybe. Who knows? It's like, hey, and
it never explains how he got off Jakku as well. Not even a single line. It just, oh well, we accept that you're now flying the X-wing that saves
yeah,
his
he
life.
had,
Yeah,
a, he had
I
a few
was-
lines saying like, "Oh, it was nighttime. I woke up."
Yeah.
I was willing
But it
to
still
accept
doesn't
that
say
might
how-
have
yeah.
missed
Yeah, we got
that,
off.
but
And
I
distance
thought I
holds
just
the
missed
ground
it.
as well.
I was
Because
assuming they had some kind of scene we explained.
yeah, because
Like maybe
but
I fell asleep.
that was another thing. Because they didn't do any world building in this, it was all okay. Hyperspace is just a scene transition, which means there's no concept of distance. So everything that happens in this film happens in the space of a day, from what we've been given.
You could seem that way. Yep.
A single
Definitely.
day, and
Yeah.
because it's just oh we're there, oh we're there. It's like in the original trilogy, it established it was like a week to get to Alderaan, which made the kind of personal relationships brought up with
Well,
family a bit better,
yeah.
or crew a bit better.
That's if that's like the lens that we're looking at it through, because they like tried to, mold this out of the original, or at least the first two. The big strength that they had going on there, while there is a big band of characters fairly large, for a good portion of the early movie, you're just learning about Luke. Here they're trying to establish more than one character, and so they have to keep juggling Kylo and Rey and Finn and all this stuff back and forth, and it just doesn't. The scenes don't really breathe the way I would like them to. That's how I
Yeah.
have to put it.
It felt like JJ like knew like, oh, this is it. This is like the only Star Wars movie I'm gonna make in my life. So let me like put as much as I can in here. Like,
Yeah,
kind of thing. Or is it
that-
letting?
I
like,
agree,
naturally go,
yeah.
It's like I'm only gonna get one shot. I need to put in bits of Empire, bits of A New Hope because I'm not gonna get to do it again. I'm a big fan. That's exactly what it was. He's cramming stuff in.
Yeah.
For no reason, and it just comes off as jarring. It's like there's so many just back and forth. Like it just seems like there's no room to breathe. It's ridiculous.
But I do think when we first meet Rey, that had a lot of
Yes, I like when we
I think
first
everything with
her
Rey
introduction.
was pretty well done for the most part.
The real
the
start
beginning.
of the film for me was that opening shot where she pulls it across and we get that swing down, like the
Yeah.
slow,
That's a great
simple
shot.
pacing. Yeah, I loved it. I was like, okay, this feels like Star Wars.
That was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Her whole
That was quite
montage,
good.
just showing what she comes from, because
Mhm.
that's what I wanted for all the other characters. Was this is her daily life before she goes on her adventure.
Yeah,
And it's
Right.
also visual storytelling. That's what film is supposed
Yeah.
to be. It's supposed to be a visual medium, not like, it's not just auditory. It's not just visual, but it being, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's actually, the foundation of film is to be visual storytelling, which is what that opening sequence was.
and it wasn't any music
Yeah.
as well. It was just a slow breeze and some clinks of the metallic cabling as he comes down. It was just a moment to breathe, as Matt said earlier. But then it did kind of go on a bit. They kind
I
of
didn't
had
have
her
a pro-
sat
I
there
mean-
for a while. Not the
But
actual
it-
initial
but
scenes
it
of her,
shows-
but I mean her whole Jakku experience. Sorry.
But that particular scene, you mean?
You mean her putting her helmet on and all that?
No, that all went fine. But I mean,
Oh.
after where we cut away from her introduction, so when we'd established her and this is what she's doing and that kind of thing, and then we spent another 20 odd minutes on Jakku, or might not have been that time, but it felt like that.
Well,
I felt that went on too long, personally.
Wait,
Not
what
me.
portion? I'm
I-
not following.
You mean the scene where like she recovers BB-8?
Ah, no, we lost Connor, and we're back. Sorry about that, guys. We lost Connor for a moment. Where were we?
Escape from Jakku, the Rey and Finn meeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
So they meet,
they do.
and that happens.
We see her one and only display of star fighting.
Yeah, like
The choreography wasn't so strong on that one.
No, and I never really explained why or
like
how
the
she
scene where
was
like he
with the
grabs
staff.
her and she's like flailing her legs when he's holding her up. Like what? What is this?
Yeah, like the scene where she runs toward him, because BB said something about like stealing Poe's jacket, I guess. That weirded me out. At first, I thought she just seems totally unhinged and like
Yeah.
you know, like,
It doesn't help that she kind of snarls when running.
Yeah,
which is the only
yeah.
thing I had a problem with her performance at all. So I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah,
she
that was the
great
only
terms of
scene in
performance,
which
but-
I didn't like her. I just
Yeah, it's
didn't
like-
know what to do with that.
It's like,
Yeah,
you're
I don't.
terrifying.
People don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think people actually do that.
Especially
No.
not on the word of like a droid you've known for 5 minutes.
But it's also the rage over the he stole a jacket. What? Yeah, I mean, it's not. Hey, that guy. I think he killed my master. He stole your jacket. You know, I mean, it just didn't quite.
Oh,
I don't know.
hilarious.
That's the only scene where I totally was. That was the first scene where I was like, I don't get what's going on.
She felt very strongly about that jacket.
Yeah.
It was the first time
Yeah.
we saw the kind of weirdness of his naivety as well. Like he was like, "Oh, someone's in trouble, must help." As though that's what he's naturally inclined to do. And then later we don't see that, and it bit weird. But yeah, and you've got the trope of her needing help, and then oh wait, no, she doesn't need help, as well wrapped in. It was a lot
But she
happening
knew
at
it was
once.
going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to have that scene somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. But they meet. They talk up. Finn tries to pretend that he's actually in the Resistance to begin with.
Mostly because he has a
revealed
crush.
storyline. It's the most overused in the universe.
I know. Which is something else the film even points out with Han later. He's like,
Yeah.
they always find out. It's like, really? It's like, okay, you know this is a trope. You know this is a trope, yet you continue to do it.
And they didn't even go anywhere with it. Not that I have a problem with that because it's a terrible
Yeah.
thing in storytelling. But why go with it in the first place? Then it just seemed kind of pointless.
I
They didn't
know,
define the
it's like-
characters at all.
It's like the moment that Finn said, "Yeah, obviously I'm in the Resistance." That was the moment where I was just like, "Oh, that was so stupid. Why did the writers put that in there? And why, in internal logic, why did the character do that? That was the dumbest thing ever. You just say, no, Imperial defector. I want to help."
Yeah, that
Oh,
would
Matt,
have
we've
done it
lost
right
your
there.
webcam.
Especially because he does do
And your
that
webcam.
later. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's off,
Jo-
or you can't hear it.
Yeah, no, we can't see you. There you go. Just
Oh,
turn that
okay.
on off.
Sorry, I've got no idea. I didn't think I pressed anything. Is it back?
Yep, you're back. You're back.
Yup.
Cover that.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to break the conversation open
That's
like
fine.
that. Sorry. Where's
Continue.
everybody?
We're just talking about Ray
Reaction
and
to the
Finn
lying.
pretending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why would Ray believe it as well? She was like, oh, you're resistance. As though he was just not blatantly lying. Like, we could all tell he was lying, obviously, just from his face,
And
not knowing.
and of
previously.
course there was the fact that like not 2 minutes earlier she was ready to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not kill him, but yeah.
Yeah,
Whack
over a
him on the head.
jacket. Someone else's jacket. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it basically
It's
detracts
a
from her
nice
character.
jacket.
Yeah. Okay, so they do that, and then the First Order attacks Jakku, and they have to escape.
Yeah, somewhat counterproductive attack too.
Well, okay, but we have to talk
First
about
it was
this. Like,
infantry.
well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I just mean I don't mean to jump ahead of what you're going with, but like that was the best moment for me in the theater because there was noise in the theater when it panned over and it was like they took the garbage ship. You know, that was a great theater moment.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like so I enjoyed this sequence quite a lot.
It was predictable, but it was still had a lot of impact. It was one of the
Yeah.
only impactful moments I think they were going for that actually hit solidly.
Yeah, seeing it
Yeah.
with an audience like that moment, it works.
Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah. The garbage will do.
Begs the question why it was there, how they lost it in the first place, or why they
No,
made
it's
that decision.
explained.
Doesn't matter.
It had been stolen, and it was
Yeah.
in that junkyard for years. No one could turn it on. And Ray, because she's like an amazing natural pilot for reasons that I have suspicions about.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, was able to get it on, and I think that's the reason why it pinged on Han's freighter because it was on, and he could actually find out where it was at, and that's why he was able to get to Jakku
Yeah,
so quickly.
he said something about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
he did.
I didn't understand it, but I know that they attempted to explain it.
yeah,
Yeah, but
but it
the
was
problem,
still the
the
fact they got
problem,
there so quickly. It's just a bit convenient.
yeah, the problem, it was very much a hand wave explanation. They're just like, oh, Millennium Falcon has a tracking beacon. That's how I was able to find it so quickly. Yeah, but how are you able to be there like literally 5 minutes after we left Jakku?
I mean,
Like,
unless
where
he was
were you?
literally
Were-
hovering above Jakku, there's no way he could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just too quick. And
So then we're introduced to Han and Chewie.
I think that's why it's so bad because it seemed
Yeah.
unnecessary to introduce it that way. I mean, I thought they were
Yeah.
going to be on board when it panned across. I thought they were going to be on board, and like Han was like,
Yeah,
scrambling
yeah,
to
I
get it
thought so
powered up
too.
or something.
what
Oh,
the
really?
hell are you
I
doing
didn't
on my
think so.
ship?
It's like we need help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't expect
thought-
it in the scene so much. I just expected that was where they were going to go for it. Sorry, Matt. To clarify,
Oh, okay.
which I think would
Well,
have
just
been better,
because
but-
the way she spoke about like that hasn't flown in years and it's garbage. I thought like she knows it's derelict, like it's been here, and there's why would any that would beg the question why is he been sitting here for years?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah, I guess
I was
so.
thinking in terms of context of if they'd written it differently.
Well,
yeah.
they could just say that, oh, the Millennium Falcon happens to be landing here. It's not derelict, and it's just a ship they happen to board because, oh shit, we're being attacked. Oh my god, you're Han Solo.
Yeah,
Get
if-
us out of here.
It would have been better if they'd just gone, well, it's garbage, why would we go for that and not have it derelict? Because it seemed like an unnecessary point. But she got to fly it, which was cool. Obviously,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
effects, amazing, as with the trailer.
Yeah.
It was,
The visual
that
effects
sequence
it was,
was really nice.
in the
horri-
movie is just fantastic overall.
it was heart-wrenching seeing that thing grinding against the floor. It's like, you're breaking the Falcon. Stop
It's already
crashing it.
like whittling as it is.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it was cool.
her skill with it, I think, was really nice too, and she was very good at using her environment throughout the movie. Like she was very smart.
Yeah, the twists with the shuttle.
Yeah, and then like when his gunner was stuck in the forward position, like she got
Yeah,
it
she
into the
swung
position.
around.
And then like afterwards, after that battle sequence, he's like, "How'd she do this?" She's like, "I don't know. I've never been off the planet. I don't know what I don't know." And then it's like that's like her, or basically us knowing that, oh, she's using the Force. Like
Yeah,
she doesn't know
that's
what
cool,
she's
yeah.
doing. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did like that. And again, it was a great moment. Not so much like, oh god, are they going to crash? Because obviously we knew they weren't. But it was the way they
Right,
shot it. It was like, oh, it's a cool,
Yeah.
intelligent use.
Yeah.
I was hoping that she, when he said the gun's jammed, that she was just going to shout, "Just climb up! There's another one on top."
Yeah, I know.
or
That's what she was
something.
gonna say too. Like, it's
Because-
like, there's two.
Because I would have loved to see him like crawling up as she's flying around and just slamming
Yeah,
into the
he's
sides,
getting
BB and then sort of seeing BB-8 just hanging there or something, and just looking at him, and climb back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Easy for some.
But I did like how when they first met Han, and then Finn was like, "Oh, the general, right?" She's like, "No, the smuggler." like I like how they both had two, because different
Yeah.
ideologies
Titles,
of what he
yeah.
was, because that's
Yeah.
what Han, depending on who you're talking to, that's how you know Solo. It's like, oh, he's either the war hero or he's the one of the more famous smugglers or the most infamous smugglers.
Yeah, and it made sense for the backgrounds they have to have had those stories as
Exactly.
well, which is cool.
Exactly. Like she was very isolated on Jakku, so that's all she hears. That kind of
I think it's also what she's more like would have preferred him to be. Like that would be more her type of hero than like some military commander or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I hate that he wasn't more well known than he is, but that's the whole EU stuff. So moving on from that, but as far as the scene goes, I liked that. I liked that they were excited, like because what they did would have been something like, oh my god, we actually did that. That was amazing. That kind of thing. I liked that.
Afterwards, that was a nice moment.
It was one of the maybe the only moment I felt that those two had a real natural bonding moment. That wasn't trying to force it. I think.
Well,
I don't know if it's the only one, but I definitely
one of the few,
agree
if
that it
not the
worked.
only.
Yeah.
About that scene, though, it's like, on the one hand, I will agree that it is perfectly natural in the moment, but the problem is that that particular scene just seems to me to be defining what the kind of the behavior of almost a lot of the characters being involved in this whole story. It's like they're just too energized, they're too enthusiastic for people witnessing, planetary genocides and shit like that.
Yeah, it did set up the tone that they were going to stick with. It should have been something that changed. We should have seen them change in this film, and we don't. Which is a shame.
You mean in that particular scene, or you mean
no?
overall?
I mean, as in that should have been where we see kind of the end of their jovialness, and then everything that happens
I
after
see what you mean.
that.
Yeah,
That would have made. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that would be the divine point. And that's also a good starting point for their relationship as well, because they don't know each other, and that's pretty much all we get. They don't really develop beyond that. They just become friends, which is a shame because I do like the chemistry.
Yeah.
Of the two characters.
Yeah, I agree that on the page, the development of their relationship kind of like just happened, sort of. Especially like at the end where she says like goodbye, friend. It's like, well, I mean, I guess they had enough then, but I think the Moss stuff, like before the Moss Kanata castle portion, I think there was something in between there that we needed.
Yeah.
So that they can establish like, oh man, it really sucks that you're leaving. Like, I barely met you, so I guess if you want to leave, bye. Like,
Thank you, person I've known for less than a week.
But the actors themselves, I think, is who brought the chemistry, not so much how they were written.
Everything I don't like about the characters is purely writing based. The acting itself, I thought, was fantastic.
Me too.
Yeah. Just really good. I loved them as characters.
Everyone has a pretty powerhouse performance.
Yeah, that's why I was never bored, even when I didn't agree at all with some of what was happening. I was never bored.
Right. Yeah. Right. And then the freighter and Han, like I said before, I really liked that little exchange he had with the gang. So that was such a Han Solo moment. And even with Chewie, he was like, yes, every time I get out of it every time. Like,
yeah.
I enjoyed the moment. I wish it hadn't been pointless. Ultimately, it was in there as opposed to part of the story, which I think is a shame.
It's not so much that it's pointless. It's just that it's again. They're calling back to stuff that happened already. It's like this sets up, okay, they have informants, like the First Order has a bunch of informants, and like this is how they keep track of where the heroes are going. It's like this gang tells them, and like these people at that Maz's castle or whatever tell them. It just kind of, it wasn't pointless so much as, I don't want to call it cheap or a ripoff, but it just doesn't quite work quite as well.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly the pacing thing again. So it's a lot very quickly, a lot of information, a lot of developments, just one scene after another, full force ahead. We're doing this now. Yeah,
scene.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the moment for what it was. It just, like I say, I would have preferred it inserted somewhere else. Good character moment for Han, though. It was very fun.
Yeah, like I said, like when Connor cut out, like when Connor was gone, that he really came alive for me. I've heard some people say, I don't know about the returning cast, and maybe they're thinking of one person in particular, but for me, Harrison Ford, I thought he was a valuable addition here.
I agree.
It's like in some ways it's almost his movie because he has so much impact on the overall plot. Yeah.
Kind of has to be.
We'll
talk about that.
I was expecting the return of the original cast to be kind of cringeworthy, and in the case of Leia, I think it was just a little bit, but with Harrison Ford as Han, he slipped right back into those shoes, no problem. It's like, this is older Han Solo, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Which, I had worries, like, not just because, like, he broke his ankle or whatever. Like, he crashes his plane, he shows up on Jimmy Kimmel inside of like a hot dog suit and rambles, like you just kind of see
He had a bad time making that film.
yeah, you're not sure what's going on there. He was in Ender's Game, like I'm sleepy grandpa, and it's like
Oh God.
this is Han Solo,
movie.
but he's Han Solo. Like
Yeah.
I was wrong. He wasn't bogged down by any of that.
Yeah.
No, he was good. He was good.
Yeah,
and then we get
he's-
Chewie
Yeah.
was a
ahead.
bit comical. Like they kind of just relegated him to comic relief, which I wasn't super keen
who,
on.
Han?
No,
Chewie,
Chewie?
you said.
Oh, Chewie.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. a
yeah.
little bit.
We could have done with some more
For
character
me, I
from
think-
him.
But Peter Mayhew, he can't do much
No,
anymore.
of course, but
So I mean, they
Yeah.
had to kind of put him in like a limited capacity. He had to be there because
Yeah.
it's Chewie and Han, but you can't ask too much of him, I guess.
I think Chewie was fine.
Uh,
he needed to do what he needed to do.
Well,
Yeah.
my
Just a bit
only
more.
issue.
It's just that what he did wasn't like insanely like impactful
Yeah.
on the story itself. I mean, I wouldn't say Chewbacca
He's-
felt
No.
superfluous. So, he didn't feel superfluous, but he definitely like, I
He's
mean,
always been a funny character, though.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
of course.
that's
but
kind of how
I-
he was in the originals too. Like he's
Yeah.
a side
True.
character. He's a secondary character. He's not one of the
Yeah.
main.
Of course, but you do get
He's a
some
walking
more emotional
carpet,
reaction from him, rather, and you do get some in this as well. I feel
Nah,
like
you
we
get
could
it.
have
You
a
get
little
it.
bit more.
He's Albar. He's Albar, man.
A little bit. I mean,
Sorry,
it
guys.
goes to say something when you have to hands over his crossbow or bowcaster. Sorry, bowcaster to
Okay.
to Han twice.
I like this thing.
Yeah, which I hated because really, 50 years of flying together and he's
Yeah.
never once held that thing.
I liked the line, but yeah, also I had a little issue with that being like, you've never in any time
Yeah.
encountered his weapon before. Like really.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was funny.
Not-
That's the thing I have
Yeah.
with most of the film. I laughed every time they went for a joke, but very
Yeah.
rarely did I think it was appropriate.
Yeah, yeah.
The best
can see
one
that.
was the. That was hilarious.
Oh
This
my
is
god, we skipped all
BB-8.
over that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole BB-8 thumbs up.
BB-8.
That gives the biggest laugh every
I
time I watch
loved
it.
it.
Yep.
It was just
Yeah, amazing.
fantastic.
Hilarious.
He's like,
Yeah, it's like his
Way to inject
his
some
thumbs up
personality.
is a little cutting torch where he's saying, "Yeah, thumbs up, but I'll burn you."
yeah. Like, don't ask me to do that again.
Oh, I loved it. That was my favorite comic moment. Definitely.
Yeah. That's
The
pretty
best.
good. Okay, so then we get to Maz's castle, which is for me.
Whoa,
when...
whoa.
We've missed some
You
Imperial.
forgot-
stuff.
You forgot the little what they talk about when they're on the ship, on their way to the
It's just
castle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's I've
Is that
got in the
better?
trailer. The whole yeah.
Oh,
Money-
yes,
oh,
yes, all that
yeah.
stuff, all that stuff. Yeah, you're right. All the
Luke.
backstory
MacGuffin
stuff.
map.
That's because that's
They're gonna
important.
go
So like,
find-
No,
yeah,
it's huge.
so-
It's huge. Yeah.
yeah, there's a sequence where BB-8 shows them to the map to Luke Skywalker, or the last piece of it, and basically, then we just get a ton of extra exposition on what's going on in the galaxy, and
Well, what happened to them specifically anyway? We
Yeah.
never
What happened in
get
that
anything
30-year
on the
gap,
galaxy.
basically.
yeah, so
We didn't even tell us. Previous to this, we had a scene back with the First
Oh, yeah.
Order on Star Destroyer where we see Snoke. Which, oh my god, when I first saw that, I was like, no.
No, I freaked out as well. I was like,
No.
no.
But then
he
when the
is
scene
not
ended-
that size.
Yeah.
I
But
know.
when it ended and it was hologram, I was like, oh god.
yeah, it's giant. That would have been ridiculous.
It was
if-
still
I was
silly
in this. I was in the
regardless.
theater like nervous. I was like,
I-
why?
Yeah, it
He was like
it was stupid
the
regardless.
Walk to
But
or
with him being
something
that
from, like,
size, like,
Marvel.
no,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't have done that.
yeah, it would have been ridiculous if he would have really been that big.
Oh, it was just massive ego. Like, how
Yeah,
can
it
you have a
scared
bigger
me.
ego than the Emperor?
But it was
having
essentially the
huge
Empire
form?
scene. It was like the Emperor telling Vader about Anakin or Luke being Anakin's son. But
Yeah.
in this way, it's saying that your father is involved in this, which is Han Solo, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kylo's father.
Which was a bit on the nose for me.
Should
but-
we actually take a moment to talk
The way he
about
said it too, like he was like,
Yeah.
"Your father, Han
on Solo?
Yeah, I was like,
Solo." It's like, okay, if I rewatch this another time, I'm not gonna like that sequence again.
No.
Like,
yeah.
it's
Um,
annoying.
Should we actually take a second to talk about Snoke, or should we save that towards the end?
well, this is our first introduction to him, so we
yeah,
can talk
might,
about.
might as well talk
scene.
about it now. He's never any more relevant than he is here.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he's the
He-
supreme leader.
yeah, he
he's the
doesn't-
supreme leader of the First Order, and that's about all there is to him.
What's the
That we
first
know,
order?
at least.
Why is he the supreme leader? Why
He-
do they follow him?
Yeah, it's like that's the weird thing. Like he's
Does-
clearly in touch with the Force.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Does anybody have any positive feeling toward him after what you just saw?
not really.
Anybody
no.
here? Okay.
I don't have negative or
I
positive.
am-
I'm just kind of,
He's
I am completely neutral. He's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Palpatine Mark II, and that's
Yeah, he
it.
didn't. His presence doesn't bother me, but he's very, so far anyway, Saturday morning cartoon.
yeah.
Like ooh, I've got vague plans, I guess.
I
You know, I
won't
mean,
Oh, I would have much preferred if you actually said that. I've got
and,
big
and it's
plans,
just
I
kind of
guess.
like,
Fire the thing we have.
yeah, and he just like every line he says is like, okay, I'm losing. I need to say something so that I'm still viable in the next episode.
Well, even
Well, your training's not complete, right? That sets
Yeah.
something up, right?
Yeah.
Your training's not
you make
complete.
that.
You know, it's just like he's got an open schedule. Like he's like a cartoon villain.
Yeah.
Like I lost this week, but I'll be back next time with a different plot.
Yeah, and you
Right.
make that point.
I'll be back.
You make the excellent point where he's trying to fit in, but what his schedule. It was even I can't remember his name. That's important. He is the other guy.
Hutz. General Hutz.
Hutz, yeah.
Or-
He's the one that suggests firing the weapon.
Yeah.
It's like, should we fire
Yeah.
the weapon? It's ready. He's like,
Yeah.
yes, let's do that.
He's like,
But-
oh yeah, right, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing we have. Yeah, that thing we have that
No,
could
he literally
destroy.
did a hand motion. He was like, "Oh yes, fire, fire!" Like he really has a hand motion. If he has like, yeah, fire it.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like again, like the thing with Snow is like, who the hell is this guy? It's like he's clearly in touch with the Force, but they don't refer to him as like Darth or Lord or even
Yeah.
Emperor, just Supreme Leader. So what? Like, is he a Sith? Is he like a defected Jedi? Like what? Like he has all these scars on his body. Like what happened with that? I was like, huh?
Yeah, it's one thing. You walk a fine line between blowing too much of the mystique of a character and just giving you everything, or not showing enough. He's too relevant in this movie because he's giving orders to not have any of who he is established. If they just made references to the Supreme Leader and, well, the Supreme Leader won't like this or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to tell me anything about him. But he's sitting here being like, you go here and you go this, and here, oh, by the way, your dad's involved and blah, blah, blah. It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Just like
You know?
Palpatine, I think he only needed to be in the film for one scene, and that one scene should have been that one mission he gave to Kylo, which is the biggest arc for Kylo. That's the only reason he really needed to be there from like a story standpoint, was to give Kylo that mission. He didn't really need to be there so
Yeah.
we can see who the puppet master is. Just like
Yeah.
Palpatine, we only saw him once, and we wondered, oh, who is that guy? Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
put someone in it too much, then you're going to be asking those questions. Okay, you show me him 3 times. Can we figure out who he is now?
Yeah,
If you put him
seriously.
once, you don't have those
I would
questions.
have preferred to have never seen him and just have his voice, tell Kylo what to do in like a vague
Yeah.
way. Like he's in like a meditation chamber being like, I don't know what to do. Like the same thing he does with the helmet. Just
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
in that way, and he goes like, "Ugh, vague evil stuff, and go do it. Like that would have been fine.
We now have our character persona of that guy now. That's it. That's Snoke
I
to
mean,
us for all time.
And yeah, I mean that would have been okay, but that you show him multiple times, and the rest of the galaxy is just casually, oh, Supreme Leader Snoke. What? I mean, it just doesn't work as much. There's no gravitas.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Gravitas
And
is
the
lacking in
gravitas is further
completely.
undermined by the ridiculous name. I cannot
Yeah.
get on board with
I'm fine
fucking
with the name
Snow.
completely.
Overlord Snoke or what? Yeah.
It would have been better for
Saturday
the
morning
Prince-
cartoon.
Peculiar.
For is it Husk? I still don't know his name.
Hux.
Hux, yeah.
Hux.
It would have been better for him. Snoke, the whole Imperial snob kind of thing. That would have worked a bit
Yeah,
better.
sure.
But for huge imposing alien, it's like Sheev all over again.
Oh, gee.
Oh god, yeah, I hated that. As far as I'm concerned, Palpatine's first name is Kasinga. He was named for his dad, rejected the name because he hated his dad.
Makes more
It-
sense.
Makes
But
it's
we've
so,
talked
like-
about that before, though, so let's try and
Yeah.
keep on track with this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
but
agree
again,
with
like,
that. Yeah.
like what the hell's the deal with the Supreme Leader guy? Like again, he could touch the Force. How? He clearly
Who
knows.
is
Like,
he? What? Yeah, it's like, what's his relationship to the Sith? Because that's the thing. You cannot be a dark sider and not have some relationship to the Sith, because the Sith are just that pervasive in in that sort of side of things. It's like, even if you're just some random dark Jedi running around making money, like you're still aware. You're still going to be aware of the Sith and that they're people you either
You've forgotten the Sith don't exist outside the films
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna say that they don't exist anymore, and also, not all Darksiders are synonymous to the Sith, and I think that's what they were trying to establish here too. Is that, and it was kind of weird though, because Snoke specifically said to Kylo, "You, the Master of the Knights of Ren." I was like, wait, but who are you in relation to the Knights of
Yeah.
Ren? Like, what?
Right.
I didn't get that. Like,
Who are the Knights of Ren? Don't know. Who are the First Order? Don't know. Why are you in charge? Don't know. It's just throw it into the wind. Don't need to know.
I
It's not
know.
important or anything.
It's like this is one of the things where one of the points where I think the prequels actually got it right by confirming Palpatine as a Sith Lord and not just as some random ass dark side force wielder because it explained why Darth Vader, the Lord of the Sith, would be the apprentice to this other guy. It's because this other guy is just a higher ranking member of the same organization. Whereas with
Also,
the whole relation,
Palpatine's goal is also a little bit more clear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what Snoke wants.
Yeah, I don't know what he wants
Exactly.
either.
No.
Or what the First Order.
Oh, and
wants,
let's just-
because
let's
in the
just, like,
credits
throw
they
this
say
out
they
here
want the
for-
Last Jedi killed, but in the film they just want the Republic destroyed.
Yeah. Can I just throw this? We should throw this out here, people. He's not Darth Plagueis. Okay.
Yeah, he's not.
Oh, I don't think he's anybody. Like, are people
No,
really
yeah.
like trying to say like he's that character that you already know? I think he's completely new.
He is. Yeah,
Yeah, he's new. He's
definitely.
He's completely new. He's not freaking. Let's not even like touch upon how him being Darth Plagueis makes sense.
Oh, wow,
Or
I've
doesn't
lost
make
you. Welcome
sense.
again, Mike. Matt.
Can you still hear me?
I was like,
I hear you.
Who's
though,
that?
yeah.
Sorry, it's
Okay,
only significant
alright.
because it jolts everyone out frame.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why it's
No, it's
doing
fine,
that.
it's
I'm not
fine.
touching
I'm just
anything.
letting you know,
So,
that's all. Yeah, you go back.
yeah.
okay.
Good.
But no,
It's
he's.
back?
Yeah.
Let's go back because we all got on this tangent because of the Han
sorry.
explanation
Yeah.
where he explains.
So we learn about the
what
galaxy.
happened. Yeah. Go ahead, Evan. Tell us what happened.
Okay, well, for starters, like it does. This whole sequence kind of does some things that I liked and some things that I really didn't like. For starters, we do know that Luke tried to rebuild the Jedi Order pretty immediately after Return of the Jedi. So he he wasn't just sitting on his ass for 30 years like we were
Right.
all hoping he
Right.
would, which was good. I'm like happy. He's like, okay, good. Luke, you actually stayed true to what your masters told you. But we also find out that the reason there isn't a new Jedi Order around is because Kylo Ren and the rest of the Knights of Ren destroyed it, except for Luke. And Luke, feeling responsible for it, went into, well, I guess he didn't so much go into exiles, he just vanished.
He
'Cause
gave
it feels
up.
like that.
It's like, well, whoops. I feel responsible.
which, by the way, I just
I
wanna,
made a
like,
mistake.
I just want to like
give up. It's like, really?
Yeah, like I just want to say this. This is almost like a shot-for-shot recreation of what happens in the Fate of the Jedi series. Just saying.
Well, it's also like if you look at it just from the perspective of the movies, it's a combination of like Obi-Wan and Yoda's failures.
Yeah.
Like there's the same thing. He does what Yoda did. He failed maybe the way Obi-Wan did.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, okay, well, no new Jedi Order. Sorry. It's like that pissed me off. I was like, really? Jedi.
And I think it could have been salvaged if it wasn't for the fact that the opening scroll says like Last Jedi, because I was thinking, oh wait, there still could be some other ones that he trained that just weren't killed, and we can like see them in the next
Yeah.
few movies and see them fight Knights of Ren. But
Have
it's
some
like, oh wait,
personal
no,
relationship to Ren. Be
they're
really
all
interesting
gone.
cosplay, but
Yeah,
nope.
now they're all gone. Like he's the
That's-
last one.
That pissed me. Like,
Yeah,
no new
and
Jedi
the
Order. It's like,
other
great, we're
thing,
back.
it-
We're back to basics again. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, like
Yeah.
no evolution. It's like we're back to one last Jedi. It's like, God damn it! Didn't we just do this?
Yeah, and the last
Yeah.
of just in general is an overused trope as well, like the live revealed thing.
3 times we've done this.
And
Prequels,
that
the Jedi
right-
Order gets
that-
destroyed. In the original trilogy, it's already destroyed, and now in this new series, they're gone again. It's like,
Go
damn
Kanye.
it.
They didn't
Get
even
in,
really.
get in,
I don't
get
think
in.
they
Like
really got
that-
off the ground.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
sorry.
that's the big problem with this movie from my viewpoint. It's like in terms of how it fits in with the storyline, it's just a huge reset button. It's just knocking things back to their A New Hope default state. It's like by having, the First Order use the planet killer to destroy the Republic's homeworld, they basically stated, okay, the Republic's been destroyed. Now it's just the Resistance versus the First Order, which is now in a position to retake the galaxy as the new Galactic Empire.
Yeah, and explain,
And the Jedi are still gone.
It
and
doesn't make
explain
sense.
to me how it makes sense that there's a resistance when there's a legitimate government that backs it. Why isn't it a standing army?
I
Yeah.
think that's because especially after we read Aftermath,
Yeah, they
Mon Mothma
demilitarized.
wanted it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they wanted it. It's actually a covert thing that they didn't want anyone really to know about. They got private funding from the Republic.
Yeah.
Is what's happening.
Okay.
I think they say that in the movie, don't
Private
they?
funding from the Republic that gives them what they call a fleet, but is actually a squadron. It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
But-
We've lost
That
half
was
our
the-
fleet.
oh, God.
No, you
Just wait
haven't.
till we'll talk about Starkiller Base. There's so much wrong with that.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah,
again,
but,
like,
Oh,
they,
God.
they explain
the
it.
Jedi. Yeah, but again, go back to the Jedi Order. It's like, okay, I'm happy that Luke tried, but I'm not so happy that we're back to 1.
Yeah, I mean,
They
it's,
base
To me,
yeah.
oh sorry. Go ahead first.
I was just going to be following up on what Evan said, basically covering the same point. They just knocked everything back to square one instead of actually developing things.
Yeah, why introduce, a new Jedi Order, a new Jedi, new characters, a new council? Why go through all the trouble of doing that when we could just kill the Order again and just set it back to that?
Well,
I will say this, this is probably my biggest criticism of the movie. Like, it's such a backtrack that it's almost insulting.
The Force has gone back to sleep. It hasn't woken at all.
Yes. Like, this is my biggest, detraction with the movie, is the fact that the Jedi Order is reduced back to this. I mean, oh, God.
It's
it was
poetry.
it was
It
already
rhymes.
stupid.
Oh, hang on, Matt's trying to say
Right.
something, sorry.
Yeah, it's poetry, it rhymes. This is what I expected to happen for out-of-universe reasons. It's like, for the same exact reason why Han, Leia, and Luke have to show up. It's because the actors are still alive. If they were dead, this would be like a completely different story. They're alive. You can't make this movie without them. You
And it's
piss
why it's
everybody
30
off.
years later.
So they contrived this thing where now, Luke has to. He was either going to be the big bad guy, which everyone was afraid of, or he was going to be the new mentor. This is the lesser of two evils. It's still bitter, but
I know.
but that's why it is,
And they
because
still
he's.
could have had the Jedi, though. And it would have been really interesting.
They could
Yeah, it
have,
would have been
but
interesting, even if it was a smaller band of Jedi, because obviously it wouldn't be as big,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that would still
Yeah,
be
like 2 dozen, 3 dozen. Like, I'm cool with
yeah,
that.
that would have been fine.
The class
nope.
of 30 ABY.
They could have made that.
Yeah,
full-
exactly. It's like,
that. But we got onto this from that scene where there's exposition going on in the ship, and for me, that didn't ruin it up until the moment where you actually see Luke later. Because if he had been working on something, or like when she shows up, I'm jumping way ahead. I'm sorry,
That's right.
but like when she shows up and like there's no like real like, oh, you're here. Well, I've been working on all this. It's like it does come.
Like, I've
across
been
like
working
he
to
just
come
keep-
back. Like, I've been doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Here's
Yep.
my new
If he had that-
enclave.
If he had
Yeah, like-
some kind of reveal to him, like I would have gone with it. Okay, oh, he hasn't given up. He's just slow. That's okay. But
Or he, or he's, or he,
like, no, that-
or
that's not a
he-
I know
judgment.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
or maybe he's not given up. He's just decided to take things underground. He's like, okay, I can't train my Jedi Order
Yeah.
publicly because we become a huge target. So I'm just going to found my secret little Jedi enclave and just train like a few students at a time and just create this underground network of Jedi that's flies under the radar.
But instead, he
Which could still
Instead,
happen,
it's-
but I doubt it.
It could
Yeah.
still happen.
It'd
Yeah.
be really
Like,
weirdly
they,
set up if
they
they
still
do
can't
go that route
establish.
now. Yeah.
Like, if the reason why he took them off the map was like, hey, let me like build something here, like, so I can make things work.
They better.
And we haven't actually seen the first Jedi Temple. We've just saw the island. Like, we haven't actually seen
Yeah.
what he was there for. So I don't know.
They better.
I don't know.
There better as hell be a class somewhere on that island, Luke, or I'm gonna be really disappointed in you.
Shaolin monk style temple is.
Over the ridge, you see like a bunch of people just like training.
But it'd be such a
I'd be
weird
cool
setup
with that.
if they show us.
I'd be cool with that. Like, at least it's something.
I want them to go that route, but if they do it now, it's so badly set up. It's like, why did we get here from here? We might as well just start the trilogy here and have Rey and Finn be students, and then see the Kylo Ren story happen, like reverse
Yeah.
Eco style. But nope. 30 years exposition.
Just no Jedi, like no evolution,
Yeah.
just like back to one Jedi. It's like, God damn it. Sorry, like
And
I was like, that's the biggest flaw in the movie for me. I've said it before.
Yeah.
Basically, their handling of Luke and the Jedi, which, yeah.
Ridiculous.
All right, let's move on to
Yeah.
Maz's castle.
All right.
Yes.
I thought Maz's castle was kind of cool and interesting.
Mhm.
A nice little callback to the Mos Eisley Cantina without being just a direct copy paste
Yeah.
of it.
Exactly.
I liked her.
Yeah,
Like as a
that's all-
character.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
she
Yeah,
was-
Maz
was-
was, she was neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I
She
mean,
was fun.
She's my kind of like like a character like Master Zeo from the Republic comic. Like he's just like this weird fringy kind of character that you don't really know how they know what they know, but they know it. And she was fun, and she
Yeah.
didn't say
Climbing
she's a
over the
little
table.
bit like she's a little she's a little
With the
bit
eyes.
plot devicey. Like here I've got something to say to you, and it's really on the nose and has to do with who you are, but it's okay. It's movie stuff that happens. I liked her. I was engaged during this scene. Only thing I didn't like about this scene, which is in the movie in general, there's not, from what I could see, many classic aliens.
No.
Like they're all
Yeah.
You get
weird
blue
looking.
Yeah, I
guys,
wonder
I
why
forgot
that
the name of,
was.
Blue elephants.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
I wanted,
they-
I wanted to see Biff and like all kinds of all of them. I didn't
No,
see
maybe
very many.
like even have it so it's the same Bith band from A New Hope playing in the canteen. Just
'Cause they
say
live
these
that
are
long.
the same guy. These are the same guys. They're just 30 years older. Just have them all in old age makeup. Their suits looking a little ratty. Their weapons a bit their instruments a bit banged up. But you can see that these guys are still working their magic.
Yeah.
And maybe you could also have the death stick guy from Attack the Clones.
God, no, that would have been too on the nose.
Yeah, and also, I didn't feel like the same universe without there being the same species. Like, we never saw Twi'lek, did we? We never saw Twi'lek.
Right.
We never saw Rhodey.
And the First Order girl was like a weird jester costume. So that looked like you'd run out of ideas very quickly.
First Order girl. First Order girl. Oh, the one who like
betrays. Yeah, she's just like she's in like a jester suit. It's like, what? Really? That's the design you're going
Yeah,
for?
that's fine.
That is actually the other thing that did kind of bother me when watching this. It felt too much like watching the Abrams Star Trek movies, where it's like, this is not classic, classic franchise name here. This is Abrams's version of franchise name here, and it's like, it didn't feel like, it's just that it didn't really feel like it was the same universe. It felt more like an alternate version of that universe, like
I'm okay with some new species. I just want to see some
keep
old
the same ones there.
Yeah, make it feel like you're in the Star Wars universe. I mean, these are commonplace, almost as common as human species. But I mean, what planet as well? I mean, it looked vaguely like Yavin,
Duros,
in architecture. But like, I mean, I know it sounds like a nitpick saying, well, they didn't tell us the planet, but they didn't build. Again, it was just a random place on a random planet in a random part of the galaxy. They got to like that. There's no world building to it. So.
And also, but speaking of the character herself, like, I hope she comes back. It says she's been alive for like 1,000 years.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Whether or not she has actually been alive that long, or just she was saying forever, like she's been around forever, that kind of thing. But she was cut. The last we see of her is, those beasts are here, and that's it, gone. Well, your use is expended. No reason to keep you around. And you just see her once in the background. She's just sort of standing there in the middle of the firefight, and then it just pans away and nothing. And you wouldn't even see her if you weren't looking for her.
It's like she's an interesting character and we want to know what happens to her next, but they don't give us any answers because it's like, all right, your purpose within the narrative has been fulfilled. Go toddle off somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's my boyfriend? I like that Wookiee.
I mean, it's the same thing with Poe. They brought Poe in when they needed him. I mean, she wasn't even that great of a character. I liked her, but there wasn't anything particularly unique and original to her, was there? I mean, it was nice to see that kind of character in the film, I think, with that stuff to say.
She was fun and entertaining, and
she was a quest giver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry?
She's an architect.
Pretty much.
Like,
she was a quest giver.
The quest giver. Yeah,
you go to the inn, you get your quest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she was also kind of an attempt to bring the Force to a personal level as well, again, because like they didn't want it to be all high-minded.
They kind of
Jedi.
alluded that she had some affinity for the Force a little bit. She's like, I'm not a Jedi, but I know the Force. I can feel it.
But you can touch it. Everyone can touch it, which I liked. But I want an explanation for why.
I liked her vision as well. Rey's vision.
Yes.
That was a good sequence.
I liked it. I didn't like that it came out of nowhere. Though it kind of just underneath a bar they go to.
Is it out of nowhere?
She finds this lightsaber that happens to give it. She didn't really earn it. Which goes back to your point earlier, Matt, about how impactful scene just didn't deserve to be.
Yeah,
impactful.
that was probably the only scene that doesn't come to mind though for me.
Oh, really?
She touches the lightsaber and it's like, okay, I can see what's going on here.
I mean, unless she's a Skywalker.
Yeah,
I mean, I've hinted
but
that
isn't
she's a Skywalker.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, this is part of it. This is one of those allusions to it.
Yeah,
like she touches a Skywalker lightsaber, Moss comes down, goes like, "This was Luke's, and it was his father before him. Now it calls to you." It's like, okay, thank
little
you.
on the nose there. Yeah.
And it would be the only thing that explains her affinity,
right,
strength
her
in the Force,
potential.
of piloting and building and on a Tatooine.
It is on the nose, but like Kylo Ren's first scene is like a guy talking about like, your family history and blah blah blah, and you just like, oh yeah, and he like acknowledges, like he doesn't like say, oh, that, what are you talking about, or like he just like, yeah, that's my family.
Also, he
so
oops, sorry.
there's no like mystery, is what I'm saying. Like throughout, that's what I started this off with. Like they know what's going on. They know you guessed all this, like all of it already.
Yeah.
You know this, so we don't have to try.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Do or do not. There is
Which
no
is-
God. We're just going to do not. And his reaction to hearing it's a girl as well and a woman is like, what?
Right. That also made me think that he knows her. He knows of her.
Yeah, I thought he knew who she was. Then.
Yeah.
But nope,
then
he doesn't.
seems-
He doesn't.
Yeah.
Because when he meets her, he doesn't really recognize it. But
Right.
But
There's a
okay, I
disconnect.
know this is not part of the movie, but in the novelization, I actually read that scene where I think it was the in battle where there's a line that Kylo he says it is you or something like that. So I don't know why that wasn't really conveyed in the movie that he does know, like he finds out he understands who she is. But in the movie, it doesn't really. It's not clear, like
No, it really isn't.
like, that he knows.
Yeah. Her vision, that's what we're just talking about, shows like what looks like aftermath of like him, ruining everything, and her being dropped off on Jakku is what I'm guessing, right? And so I would assume that he knew, maybe not her by name, but it does
Just
seem
knew
like that.
of her, like
He
knew
knows the
of
gender.
this
Of her.
person. Yeah, like this child who's super gifted with the Force,
I'm
Yeah, he
envisioning
knows
And that could
something.
explain it. That could explain it that he never saw her physically. He just heard of her, like he just knew of her, and that's probably why she was hidden.
I'm envisioning a kind of a mix between Darth Vader, I am your father, and an Obi-Wan, of course I knew him, he's me moment with her and Luke at some point. Like have a oh, by the way, I'm your father. I hope that's not
Like,
what
just
they
like
did, but I
that.
could see
Just
them.
like that.
I could see them doing that because
How would that reveal
it's
work?
the
I don't
only thing
know.
that ties all of these weird problems together is her
Right.
being a Skywalker. She even looks
I agree.
like a mix
Yeah,
between
yeah,
Padme and
Yeah, she's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she has to be at this
If
point.
not, then I'm lost. Like if she's not.
Yeah, me
I
too.
don't
Me
give a
too.
damn.
If she's not,
Like,
it makes no sense.
But with her being one, why have they done it like this? It's so sloppy. It's like, if
Right.
she is, why
Because
hide
they-
it? It's just
Because they did this between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and we got to do the same thing again because we're doing a new trilogy, right?
yeah.
It's the same.
I know, but I mean,
it's
like
safe,
sitting
right?
down and
She's got to be hidden on a desert planet like every other prodigy in the
why
universe.
wasn't it
It just has
Tatooine?
to like.
They didn't give
See,
an
that's the
explanation
weirdest
for why
thing.
it shouldn't be
Because
Tatooine.
that's obvious. You know about everyone knows about Tatooine. It's got to be Jakku. Tatooine and all but name.
But
You know.
that's it goes back to the
Tatooine's
hark
too
and back.
mainstream.
It's just perfect loop, and they can't say, well, it's too neat. We don't like that because they've done everything else that way.
To be clear, I'm being sarcastic. I agree with
No,
you.
Yeah, no,
I
he's-
know, I know, but I'm going there.
I'm
I'm saying even from their
I'm out of
ludicrous
excuses.
perspective, like they can't have been thinking that.
It's really strange and weird.
I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person sat watching that trailer when it first started was rolling screen. Oh, it's Tatooine. Good. Nice familiar territory. And then, oh, wait, it's not? It's not Tatooine? Okay. Obviously,
Yeah,
we knew
that was
wasn't
weird.
Tatooine beforehand,
Should we move on to
Yeah,
Rey and
we're-
Kylo's confrontation in the forest?
You can do that.
Whoa, we've skipped loads if we do that.
Yeah.
Hold on,
The fight. Well, like,
we
how much is there to say
skipped-
about the fight?
We
Well,
would have
no, we
skipped
skipped like half the film if we do that.
No. He's not talking about the interrogation. He's talking about the fight in the forest. Like after she because after the
Yeah.
saber, she runs off into the forest and goes like, I don't want to be a part
sorry,
of
I
this.
see what you mean.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
yeah, my mistake.
That's
There
right.
were
Yeah,
three.
no,
There were three fights in the forest. The Vision, the
That's like-
actual first one, and then the
That-
snow one.
Yeah.
That's right after that they blow up the planets, like the
Right, which
Hosni
was
or
really
whatever.
I mean, if it was supposed to be a
That's-
really important thing that the Republic
Yeah.
was being destroyed, they really glazed
Yeah.
over that. They didn't really.
Yeah, no,
tell
it's
us,
like, and
hey,
they
that's
even
important.
like
That's
they even like had the new
That's-
chancellor and everything there, and we knew they were characters because of the casting, but no lines, no nothing.
that's the moment when the movie lost me. Like as soon as whatever Hux is like giving his Nazi speech in Nuremberg,
Oh my God, the Nazi
I'm,
symbolism
like,
for that speech was so overt. It was painful.
I knew
It
gonna
was
be in the
painfully
trailer.
overt. It was.
I mean, as soon as he starts that, and like even his face is like way up, in the camera, and he's screaming about this and that, and he's trying to give like this impassioned thing. I'm like, well, who are you? What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Why do we care?
And then you launched a beam. Oh, it's 5 beams or however many. Oh, did you just kill everybody? Like,
We
Yeah, it
joked
happened
we
it-
joked
it
like half a year
jumped.
ago about
Yeah,
it
that's-
being able to kill multiple like
talk
entire
about-
system, and now
talk
it did.
about a
It's like-
scene not earning the right to play out the way that it did. That
Yeah.
the Death Star works because A New Hope is about the Death Star. That's the whole thing.
And-
They're trying to blow up this thing.
And it-
This weapon just comes in and it's like, well, we got this thing. Let's go.
We got this
Let's kill
thing.
that.
And from the
And
performance
the
of the
other thing
actor,
is-
I thought the delivery was fantastic. It's just it was again the writing was
Yeah,
way
it's
too on the
not- it's
nose.
not his
and,
fault.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
it's-
Oh
delivered
no,
it brilliantly.
the actor did a fucking amazing
Yeah.
job. Like he played that
Yeah.
role, but like it was just
You almost
yeah.
got too into
Yeah,
it.
it's
Actually.
like why are the fucking Nazis?
No, but
loved it,
he
but
went
it's just
for it. He
yeah.
acted. He did good.
Yeah.
the intonation and everything.
But yeah, it's like the reason why I like the actor in the role. Domhnall Gleeson's awesome, but the character of Admiral Hux himself, it's like I've been when I was in the moment watching the movie, I kind of liked him because quintessential Imperial officer. But now the more I think about it, the more I kind of dislike his character because he's too extreme. It's like when you compare this guy to the characters in the original trilogy, all of the Imperial officers, including Admiral Tarkin, sorry, Grand Moff Tarkin, don't look at me, who ordered the destruction of a planet just to make a point. We're all calm, cool, collected, reasonable
You may fire when
individuals.
ready.
You may fire when ready.
Whereas this guy was basically insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
if he was,
And they're all just
Yeah.
like, yep, okay.
yeah, it's the same thing as like we've been saying the whole time. He can do that. He can have that scene that way. But give me a reason why he's so pissed.
Right,
Like
right.
what's his story? Like, was his father murdered or like by a Republic officer? Like what's his deal? I don't need a whole backstory, but go through the motions of
Yeah,
telling
we
me
got
why
nothing.
he's so like the way that he is.
And
I kind of had to fill it up for myself, like an explanation, because if you really look at the First Order, they're very young. Like everybody in position of power in that order is very young. Kylo Ren, very young.
Children of
General
the Death
Hux,
Star.
very young. Say again?
Children of the Death Star generation. Terrorist act blew up the Death Star, killing however many people. That would be interesting.
Well,
And
guys,
vaguely
it actually says in the Force Awakens guidebook that Hux, his father was actually a general in the Imperial Army, and he was just kind of raised in that environment.
Let's
Okay,
have
well.
that scene. Let's
Yeah,
figure that out.
like,
That's
show
in the book,
me-
we don't have any context for that, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show
I
me his
only
dad
know
on a
about that
monitor
because I
telling
read
him-
this.
Right.
But yeah,
Have
my
him be the
explanation-
guy who gives him his orders, as opposed to Snoke. Have him talk about Snoke. Imperial Snoke will not be happy with your son. God, do better. It's like, yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, let's something like that.
But yeah, from how it is now, my explanation would just be that it's this young generation trying to prove themselves, like trying to make their own name for themselves. Which, like you said, if we were in the writers' room, yeah, let's give him a father who's like putting him through that, you know, and that would have worked. But like how it is in the movie, it's just it just doesn't make sense. Like, out of
Yeah.
context.
That's all we get.
And the impact as well. In the original, we had the build-up for the impact it would have on Leia, the reason it was being fired in the first place to get her to talk, and also establish the threat because they hadn't established it
That's-
back then.
yeah,
and
the
also
reason-
the Force reaction. It was establishing the connection of, whoa,
Yeah.
suddenly 10,000 people have just been silenced. Nothing,
Yeah, all of that
nothing
works.
in this one.
Yeah.
Even the music build-up was amazing in the original, but this just had nothing.
It,
It was
We're
just
done.
out of nowhere and completely unearned. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you just blew apart Coruscant and all of these other planets.
Not
Why
Coruscant.
do I
Wasn't Coruscant.
care?
Coruscant copy.
Sorry.
But I mean, it's
Yeah, of course I copy.
it's the that scene comes across like something that happens toward the climax, like, oh, this is a big deal, like, or like you know that they are capable of doing this and they've done it. Maybe I missed something. I didn't know they could do that till they'd already done it. So it was just like, oh, that happened. Okay.
Well, it's like you
just
just
think,
Snoke.
oh,
Even
audience gets it,
Snoke is,
right?
oh yeah, fire that thing we have.
Yeah,
It's like-
yeah,
Yeah.
What?
Or why now? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's you know, I mean, because you have nothing
Yeah.
better to do today.
Yeah.
yeah,
no
like, oh,
urgency.
it's right
And
now. Let's do
even
it.
even the mechanics of it. I mean, Death Star fire concentrated beam, hit planet, planet blow up, fine. But this one shoots a beam that then, once systems away from the actual shot, bends and precisely hits multiple planets in a star system.
It doesn't make sense
Right.
to me either. But that was the least of the problems I had with that
Yeah,
scene.
Of course, but that's
yeah,
just another
I agree.
huge
Yeah,
one
it's
on
least of my
top.
problems.
Yeah.
as
I-
well.
Fair enough,
I
but it's a huge
know,
one
I
on top.
know.
I mean, that means that the only way they could do that is if they extend a force field to wrap and then manipulate it in situ. But that means that they can do that with the power of a sun. Like, they have that technology. They have shields that can manipulate a sun, and yet they have problems
Yeah.
with blaster bolts hitting the force fields. It's like,
It's
these questions need
it's
to be
my
asked.
go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my go-to example of like a scene I wanted to like and just could not even begin to wrap my head around.
I
couldn't
know.
even
Like,
like
the
it because I
sad-
couldn't get my head around it at all.
Nah,
Okay.
yeah.
I couldn't feel anything for it because I was like, what?
And it was so
Yeah.
brief that you can't even like it doesn't even stick with you.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the biggest criticisms for the Dark Empire storyline is that the Empire just kept pulling a new super weapon out of their ass every
Yeah.
2 minutes, like the World Devastators, the Galaxy Gun, the super laser built
Yeah,
into
Sun
Eclipse.
Crusher.
But the thing is, all of these weapons were still given their due gravitas and grandeur. It's like when the Galaxy Gun was unveiled, it wasn't like, okay, Empire has a weapon. It's like, look at this amazing thing. And the problem is that you never get anything like that for Starkiller Base. It's like they just kind of say, "Oh, we got this weapon. Let's fire it. Yay!"
It's dumb.
Starkiller Base in its entirety, I felt, was just a massive waste.
The name itself is just ludicrous.
Well, Starkiller is the most hackneyed Star Wars thing, you know. But it's I lost my train of thought completely. I hate when that happens. Yeah. Sorry. Somebody talk. I'm
well, like, you know, it's weird. It's like Starkiller Base is like, it's basically another Death Star. But what's crazy about that is they even make note of that in the movie.
Right. That's so what it's. That's what I was gonna say. It's dumb sequel territory where you like it's bigger and betterer. Yeah. It's literally that.
It's 100 times the size.
You even have a hologram to show you how much bigger it is.
Yeah. Death Star, which was already insanely huge.
Right.
It's big.
Yeah.
And it can destroy entire star systems, not just one planet. I mean, we joked about them doing that, and they actually did it.
For me, I knew that was going to happen. Starkiller, they're going to destroy star systems. So.
Yeah,
it's totally like not necessary because you could have just told me they've amassed a huge fleet, and then you have your excuse for a space battle. I don't need them to be trying to destroy another.
Yeah, you didn't need it.
I just don't get that.
Even in the context of the movie, it was unnecessary. Like whenever you're looking at the stuff with Han and Ben or Rey and Finn or anybody else, when you cut back to the battle, you're like, oh wait, yeah, this is happening. I don't care.
There's even like it happens, and maybe I forgot. I've only seen it one time. I don't know how many times you guys have all seen it, but it's like, was anybody broken up about what just happened, or like was anybody devastated by this? And it was just like, okay, that happened, and Han's like, well, it's fucking big. How do we blow it up?
Yeah, even people deciding how they're gonna do it. There's like, oh, it's another Death Star. Let's go destroy it. They all have weaknesses. They always do. It's like,
it just doesn't.
It's a joke.
They were hanging a lantern to like what it was before, and they're like, it's okay now, right? Because we said we said that it's been there before. Like, no.
Yeah. Like one of the biggest.
The second one, let alone the third.
One of the biggest.
The other thing is also just the whole concept of the Starkiller Base, even in universe as a movie purist, still makes no sense because the Empire went and built massive planet-destroying super weapons twice before, and it failed both times. You're telling, and all of the people who pushed for the creation of those weapons were killed when they failed. The Death Stars were commissioned. Yeah, like one of my favorite points in the old EU is the fact that Vader opposed the creation of the Death Stars from day one. He saw them as a colossal waste of resources, and this is even reflected in the film itself. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force. The only people who wanted weapons like that were Palpatine to appease his ego, and Tarkin because he honestly believed that weapons like this were necessary. Everyone else, and of course that those other admirals in the little meeting, the board meeting in A New Hope, they wanted it. But it's like everyone else in the Empire was like, why are we wasting our money on this damn bloody thing that's can only do that, you know, it's a waste of resources. We're better off making massive fleets of warships, but instead we funnel the entire economic resources of the First Order into building Starkiller Base when we could use these same resources to build a fleet big enough to conquer the galaxy.
It doesn't even establish that this one can move. It made it seem like it was a planet and it was stationary.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. Apparently, like, Pablo Hidalgo said it does, but it's not established in the movie, so you can't.
And it uses that sun as a battery. Like, how can the sun moves too? I mean, it just doesn't. You know, none of it works. Yeah. Why do they need it?
Like, why do they need it? Yeah.
And again, that goes to us not knowing anything about the galaxy. Like, is the First Order winning? Is it equal footing?
Right,
is
exactly.
Is it currently still in power? Is it a remnant? You know, with no idea. But on top of that, the impact just didn't do anything. Like you said, no one felt anything for it in the audience. No one felt anything for it in world. It was just
we didn't know any. We didn't know any. Like all those people who were staring up at the thing coming. Like we didn't know who they were. Like we didn't know what the deal with them was. Like okay, like how am I gonna feel something for these people if I haven't even heard them speak?
Yeah, previous not necessarily Senate meetings, but world building beforehand would have built the world.
Yeah, no Senate meetings. We don't even like hear the Chancellor even say anything. It's like okay, like we know he's there, but nothing. Again.
Well, I do like that we did see the people on the planet who were being killed, which is something that we could have had in the original.
All 2 seconds of it.
Yeah, even 2 seconds of it. Like I think that's something even in the original trilogy they should have had. they had it here, like they had the visual of it, like, hey, look at it, you see the people who are getting killed, so you can feel for them, but we didn't have.
We can't get emotionally invested.
Right? We don't know who those people are. We don't know what they're doing. Like barely know what they're doing, and then you expect us to care. Yeah, you have the visual part of it, right? Thank you, but I don't know who these people are.
But it's like Antoine said, where they pandered to the original trilogy. They were so afraid of space politics, so they didn't show you this stuff because that's too Phantom Menace-y. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
People didn't like the space politics.
And it comes at the expense of gravitas and meaning. It's a big flash and spectacle, but it doesn't. I didn't feel anything. I couldn't. I wanted to. I couldn't.
I mean,
Yeah, I know.
Like
you wanted to. It's like, oh, it's a sad scene, but because a lot of people are dying. But
Yeah.
And it's not like you felt anything necessarily for Alderaan, but Alderaan was they were firing it, or
I felt for
firing
Leia.
it to threaten
You know,
Leia. She
Exactly.
felt it, and also we saw the Force being established as like a powerful universal thing because Ben felt it. None of that in this.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And then, of course, you have the actual whole slow build-up tension from the music, and also when they're fighting, trying to destroy it, they have the build-up of the counting down timer. They have to beat it before it gets past Yavin. None of that. There was no time limit. They could have kept going at this for years. Well, no, there was a time limit because they destroyed the base, but they could have just moved the base.
Yeah.
okay, so then we have Han and Leia. Unless you guys want to talk about Rey and Kylo in the forest. I don't know. There wasn't really much for her.
There wasn't.
being
We kind of
captured.
already touched on that earlier. Anyway, I think we should just move on to the what.
We'll talk about the
One
interrogation,
thing-
but
Yeah.
One thing that just occurred to me regarding Kylo Ren's Force abilities and the way his powers are portrayed. One of the things that I've always been really, really pushing, like as an expanded universe fan, is that the only limitation on your ability to wield the Force is your own imagination. It's not like every single Force ability is some spell that can only be used for some purpose. Like Force Grip can only be used to choke. Force Push can only be used to push. It's like, no, you can shape the Force into whatever the hell you want it to be. But with Kylo Ren, they kind of take this idea and ignore it completely. It's like all of his abilities are treated almost like very specific spells. It's like he's got his little freeze you in place with telekinesis, which he can use on both blaster bolts and people. It's like it's treated as some sort of paralysis spell instead of, no, I'm freezing you in place with telekinesis. It's like everything that he does, it feels less like a fluid dynamic superpower that can be applied in any way and more like magic.
Because that's what
it's
they're
like-
I
doing.
might argue. Yeah, I might argue that could be said about the movies in general.
Yeah.
I agree. But
But
with him, it
it didn't
fluctuates.
bother
Like
me.
people that can use Tutaminis, as explained later on, or in the EU, it's pretty difficult. But then the stuff he's pulling off, he's failing to do a lot, given the fact that he can hold a blaster bolt in midair later on.
Yeah, what bothers me
Earlier on,
which
you
again,
mean.
I don't want to bounce around too much because we have like an order we're allegedly supposed to be going in here. But like it's more like
It was never going to work. Only a fool's hope.
It's not so much what he does with the Force, so much as okay, he does this, but he has trouble with this.
Yeah.
Over like in this, it's like, what are your limitations? Like just whatever the plot needs them to be at the moment, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're not bound to his
Yeah.
character either. Like if someone's a combatant, they're not going to be good with his sort of sorceress abilities. Fine, makes sense. But he can
also
flip flop between.
Yeah, and not that this isn't really like a nitpick or flaw. It's just something I was confused on. I had a really hard time pinpointing him because of how young he looks. Like how much training has he had,
Yeah.
and by whom?
And how was he a threat to Luke?
What does he know how to do? I just don't. I didn't have as good of an idea of what I thought to expect from him. I feel like he just kind of was an unknown quantity to me, aside from his identity.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
which was
Which is the thing that
really
should be the unknown quantity.
Yeah, we'll get to that
Yeah.
soon.
So what else
but
is
yeah, so there was the Han and Leia meeting was what I was trying to get to. 'cause I was
Yeah,
trying
the
to see-
resistance.
there? Before that, sorry, this is a minor
Yeah.
thing, but it's just worth mentioning. Did anyone else find it ludicrous how casually Poe was just taking out all of the TIE fighters?
Yeah, I had a problem with that.
No,
But
I
that's
was
what I'm
like,
saying.
oh,
You
thanks for
can
killing
have
the
it-
tension. Why are there any other pilots there?
Yeah, I didn't. No, because
Finn's
I
all
didn't
like,
notice it.
that's a damn good pilot.
It's like, that's the best pilot ever. He just took out like
Yeah.
7 TIE fighters and ground troops. Like nothing. It's just
Yeah, he was a video game character.
yeah,
Yeah,
With all the cheats enabled.
yeah. I
Yeah,
loathed
exactly.
it. It's like
It
thanks
was
for that.
Battlefront, and it was like the guy who had the top score who's been playing for weeks with people who are noobs.
Yeah, and I was liking how they established the wing. Like when I said, "Where have you, Poe?" I love that line. It's a tiny thing, but I felt the emotion through it. And then okay, the wing squadron's irrelevant because Poe can do it all.
And same for the ending too, like where
Yeah.
Poe, like he wasn't there wasn't any danger for him at all.
He single-handedly takes out Starkiller Base.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
by himself.
And same could be said for Luke, but it was a long build-up. It was tense. It was all about the dramatic moments. Someone else had to go first and failed. All of this stuff to make it feel real and gritty, as opposed to just I'm the main character, so I'm going to go in and save the day.
The only concession that they had to make with Luke was the dumb plot device. Well, that's their big weakness. It's like, well, why is it there? We don't have a reason, but it's okay. It's movie stuff, whatever. Everything else about the scene works in Luke's version.
Yeah. But nothing works for this one.
There's actually a threat in the original Transformers as well.
It also has, it's also like a big step in his ability to start to use the Force. He doesn't start the movie like, well, I can use the Force, right? It's use the Force, Luke. It builds up to that, and he makes the choice to go ahead and do that. He puts up the.
And even then, he barely manages it. It's not like, oh well, now I'm a Force guard and I can do whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. He had a natural progression.
Yeah.
But
that's
with
the problem
Poe,
with the film. It just
you don't
lacks
have
all
any
of
of that going on. So.
Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that because that was really annoyed me on the scene.
That's fine. Yeah. So Han and Leia meet. I actually like that they established that they were broken up because I actually think that's a pretty natural. One of the natural things I think that would have happened with a couple like that, especially after the tragedy that they went through. And I like that they went back to what they were comfortable with because they were in this situation.
She went back to being a general. He went back to being a smuggler.
They did it in the EU, actually, when Chewie, because Han went a bit mental after Chewie died, and he went off but they didn't break up though. It was a break as opposed to a breakup, which in here they don't even establish. It could have been anything, and for how long?
Right, they didn't really say.
It could have been 20 years, could have been 2. We just don't know. It's another thing that's left up in the air.
We just don't know. That you could say that a lot about the movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
I'm not trying to jump ahead. It's just.
And I also felt that Leia was way too wooden in this.
Oh,
way
my
too wooden.
God. Yeah, which I feel bad. I mean, I don't want to point that out because I think it's beyond her control. But, you know, that was what I was worried would happen with Harrison Ford too. And when it didn't, I had a lot of hope for her.
Yeah.
It didn't.
She had maybe 2 lines that were like, okay, where she was kind of snarky at
Don't
Han.
say the Death Star. I like that.
Yeah. That's the one time.
Or the jacket, but that scene with the jacket, like new jacket.
But even that was kind of like wooden. But it was okay.
No, I'm saying that is wooden. That's what I mean.
Oh, right.
And it didn't establish the time as well. It was like, has it been 10 years? Is this a month? I mean, what?
It's okay. We don't need the time.
Yeah, but it establishes the importance of the breakup and the importance of the reunion. That's why it's important. It's not like we just don't know. It could have been a year, could have been 10 years. It adds to the impact of the scene. Like, he could have been scared. I don't want to see it. Like, sure, we have not seen her in 10 years. Like, what do I say to her? That kind of thing. Just a little bit like that.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from. I just personally don't need a time. I don't personally need a time frame.
Okay.
I don't. I think the time frame itself isn't really necessary, but you need to that there should have been
that there has been time.
Yeah. It needs, yeah. Not the precise time necessarily. Just establish some time because it was very vague. It was vague. Lost impact as a result. And they kind of snapped back together like that. I was like, oh well, if you were that easy to snap back together, why did you separate? Which makes me think if it was a smaller amount of time.
Drives me crazy when you're gone. That's why I do it.
Yeah, it's which again was short periods where you can see it happening, but them just breaking up just seemed kind of.
Yeah. That is one of the problems too. It's like they keep alluding to these things, and it's like without giving us any real backstory. It's like they only give us the info that's absolutely plot essential. It's like, oh, Han and Leia haven't seen each other in a while, so that's why this is supposed to be an emotional reunion. It's like, okay, if this is what were the circumstances of their parting? Did they part on good terms? Was it a fight, or did Han just kind of walk out?
It wasn't a fight. It was because of Kylo.
Yeah, we don't know how it happened. We know why, just not so much how.
It's like we don't know what their reaction to the whole thing with Kylo was. It's like were they just lashing out at each other in a rage because they didn't know what else to do? Like, was it kind of a tearful, heartful thing where Han's like, okay, I'm going to go to the Outer Rim and look for him. It's like,
I thought it was going to be the reverse because of the opening crawl and the fact that Han's the one that bumps into our new protagonist first before Leia shows up. It says General Leia is looking for her brother or whatever. I thought in response to what happened with Luke, she was the one trying to pick up the pieces, and Han was like, "Fuck this, you guys stuff, and took my son and my wife from me. I don't want, yeah, it didn't work for me." I thought he'd be more embittered about it, especially because he's the one talking about, oh yeah, it's real and blah blah blah. And I don't, I thought he would be like, "But don't ask me about it. I don't want to talk about it." Everybody just kind of seemed not okay with it. That's not how I want to put it. They didn't seem as devastated by it as I think they should have been.
And again, this kind of goes back to a point Oh, sorry, Matt.
I'm done. Go ahead.
But again, this kind of goes back to a point I made earlier. It feels like we're missing a whole movie when you're watching this. Like, it feels like so much has happened already. It's like, I want to see what happened. I want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what?
The Kylo Ren movie. Like, I mean, not that I needed that, but since that's the direction they went with this character is the one who blew up the Jedi Order, right? So.
How'd he do this? How'd he go about it? Like, what? It's like, no.
It's kind of the same problem that it's kind of what it's like what I was saying earlier with the reset button. It's like they're basically alluding to a lot of these events that took place in the past that you're always going to be wondering about, and they'll just be kind of referencing. But the difference is that this time around, because everyone has such negative opinions about the prequel trilogy, they're never going to delve into those events. They're always going to leave it vague. And instead of, it's just from the perspective of us, the fan base, that's just going to be infuriating because of how heavily they're referencing these events in the current story moving forwards. It's like, the original Star Wars trilogy didn't need a prequel trilogy. The events could have been left mysterious and it worked just fine. But the sad thing is that Episode 1 feels like it needs its own prequel trilogy to establish what the hell happened. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing. Like what you guys were talking about, I think we talk about lessons that should have been learned by now. Like it's, I mean, have we really talked about him yet? Like, can we talk about Kylo Ren? Like, just as a character?
Yeah, we can talk about it now.
He was a Darth Kaitis ripoff straight to the core.
God. Oh my! His temper tantrums is what.
But it's also like this guy. But even his reason that we're given, so I'm hoping there's more to it than this. It is there's too much Vader in him. That's not good enough.
No.
Like that's not a story.
I don't think that's it at all. I think it's pretty established in the movie that it's because he's extremely insecure, and it's not because he has an inherent darkness in him. It's because he wants to prove something. That's the reason why he has a mask, or he wants to emulate Vader. That's why he's got Vader's mask. That's why he wants to learn more, because he feels insignificant. Like as we're coming up to the interrogation scene, when he's repelled by Rey, like that frightens him, because he's like, no, I'm supposed to, like, I can get whatever I want. Like when he first talks to her, he's like, I can get anything I want from you. I'm that confident. And then when he doesn't, he's got this huge insecurity. The next thing he goes to Snoke, like, teach me. I can get this out of her if you just teach me. Like, I need guidance here. I need, my insecurities need to be met, So
he's got a scene where he's talking to his grandfather's helmet. He's got a scene where they basically say, like, you have to remember, like, the family you come from or whatever. Like, I can remember the line. And he goes, "You're so right." And of course, the guy brought it up because of the Solo line. He's thinking Skywalker lineage. Like, that's what he's emulating, is his grandmother. But why, though? He'd rather emulate his grandfather than what I'm presuming to be his mentor, Luke. Like, what is that story?
And he says specifically, it's the one line I liked with him because it felt like, ooh, interesting. You've done it wrong, but it was an interesting idea. I will not allow it to seduce me. I can feel the call to the light, but I won't allow it to seduce me. I love that.
Right.
Oh, flip it.
Yeah.
What's that about?
That was interesting.
Yeah.
But they did nothing with it. So
it is interesting, but there's no.
What do you mean they did nothing with it? That was what the whole thing with Han was about. What do you mean they did nothing with it?
Yeah, but given everything else, there was no seeds. It wasn't like he was doubting himself the entire way. It was just, nope, that was the one moment.
Like, that's the only scenario where I feel like that was with Han.
I felt like it was pretty established he was doubting himself, especially when Rey came about. Like, even when there was mention,
not his conscience. He was doubting his abilities. It made him come across as a spoiled brat. Like,
why
can't I break your mind? Why are you more powerful than me? Not
his conscience and his abilities are completely aligned.
Are they? Because I don't feel like it. He throws temper tantrums when he doesn't get his own way. Consistently.
When he doesn't get his way, his abilities. He thinks he's this all-powerful.
I'm sorry. Just
what?
Just the mention of the temper tantrums just got me thinking about the scene where he flips out and hacks the console apart
Yeah,
with his
yeah.
He's literally
lightsaber.
doing that. He gets some bad news and he goes,
He is what Anakin Skywalker should have been. Like he is that crazy psychotic person that Anakin should have been,
But Anakin,
trying to prove something.
But I mean, the prequels didn't necessarily do this perfectly, but you see why Anakin made the choices he did. What's this guy's reason for forsaking Luke and everything else for this life? And why does he want this life still? If he's having doubts about it, what's the pro for him? I don't get it.
I mean, they can keep
It happened in that movie that we
have to have a
gonna
hint.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need it blown. I don't need a full-blown version, but I need more than what they gave in this movie to care. I did anyway.
Yeah. It sounds like he's more power. Like dark side is powerful. I want to keep it. I've still called him the seduction to the light. I'm afraid I'm not going to be powerful enough. Like, give me more power.
Still
Why
vague,
is something
though.
not going right? It's
Yeah.
Just, and Rey,
even
why is Rey able to do what she is able to do unless she's a Skywalker? Which is the only explanation I will accept.
right.
But I mean, if you compare the two, if he's what Anakin should have been, it's minus the reason. It's minus the impetus. Anakin starts off wanting something, like he wants the power to do something with it. It's not that he just likes being on the dark side team. It's I need this power to save my
So
life.
that he can save, he can protect, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then inflict order when he's Vader.
What's Ben's deal?
Oh god.
Like, what does he want?
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about it now because we've mentioned it twice now. But yeah, his name's Ben, which I
Ben
hate.
Solo, I guess. Yeah.
Even though in the UU that was Luke's son and
They basically took Jason and they took Ben and just put them together.
the scene when his name is revealed, which we'll talk about later, I was just like, Jason, say Jason. Oh, well, fine, thanks, never mind. Because they could even have him be Jason and Rey be Jaina. If Rey doesn't know who she is and he's using a pseudonym, that would have been perfect.
Right.
But no.
I'm cool with Ben. I think Ben was fine.
Why would
not.
Leia and Han have called him Ben exactly? Because that's a Luke name.
Yeah, no, it was kind of
Yeah.
weird because they had
It
no
doesn't-
personal relationship with Obi.
It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Unless
Yeah.
Leia knew him as Ben, but even she referred to him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which it just doesn't make sense. It's just a bad name.
Leia never really even met Kenobi.
No.
No,
I
she
was, yeah.
It's alluded that she might have done at some point, but not enough to name her first child after him. Or child after him, we don't know if it's first.
I wasn't expecting him to be named Jason because of what we talked about before.
Well, yeah, but I was so
But I wasn't expecting him to be named Ben.
Yeah.
So
So please give me Jason. But no.
Yeah, they gave us
mean-
Jason in just about every other way. Like his
Yeah.
character is just a carbon copy. Well, he's a carbon copy of Darth Caedus. He's trying to
But
present
not in a
himself
good
as-
way.
Not in a good way. It's
But
like
also you get to
he's-
know Caedus before he's Caedus.
Yeah,
Like,
way
you
before.
know, he doesn't spring into being like that. So this just didn't work for me.
It's annoying that they did that.
I mean, I legitimately have seen some reviews claiming that Kylo Ren is actually more intimidating than Darth Vader, and whenever I actually hear that, I'm
No.
just like, to hell?
No.
You can't
I think
be
to hell?
scared by someone that has temper tantrums. It's not possible.
He-
Doesn't matter how
it-
powerful they
but he-
are, as a character, they're not threatening.
Yeah.
I didn't hate him. I just didn't like. I liked him in the earlier. He's sarcastic in like his earlier scenes. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a line that I'm bad with quotes, but one of the things that got a lot of me was he's arguing about like the ineffectiveness of the troopers, and like the only thing they seem to be skilled at is high treason. You know, and I like lines like that. I like his personality.
Yeah, I like that
earlier on in the film. Just wanted more of his. You can't just like have Han kind of like, well, there was a bad boy who rebelled against Luke. It's my son, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted more. Here's what happened and why, or just like even a hint of that.
But
He
no.
also just doesn't have Vader's same commanding presence, too.
No, he doesn't. And but that's the thing. I never heard that review personally because I don't agree with that review at all.
I've seen
but I think
people say that.
that's
Antoine,
crazy.
like, no joke.
That's crazy. The point of him is not to be this huge intimidating thing. He's this guy wearing a mask, a literal mask and a figurative mask.
Right.
trying to be Vader. He's playing at Vader.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that he is not Vader. He's just putting up a play. So yeah, to say that he's Vader is weird because the whole point of him to me is that it's all a facade.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be seeing the person behind the evil mask as well. This was trying to make him a character as opposed to just a villain, a threat, which I liked. It's just I don't have a problem with him being relatable or personable.
You don't like the explanation that they gave.
Yeah, I just don't like the way they went. Like he's a stroppy teenager is what we get. A stroppy teenager that wants to be more powerful and throws a tantrum every time something doesn't go his way. Either bad news from a trooper, which he then somehow just flips out over about, and then Rey one-upping him, Rey one-upping him again. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, that scene where he like hacks apart the table and then you have those two stormtroopers coming in, a little piece falls out.
okay.
And they just walk away. It's like, nope,
That's
not
our
dealing with-
leader.
Yeah, it's like, and where does he stand on that? Because he's kind of sort of on par with Husk, Holt. I can't remember.
They
his
were
name.
having a kind of rivalry, so I think they're vying for position over each other.
Yeah.
Because every time they were talking with Snoke, they would always like look at each other and be like, haha, haha.
Yeah.
Like, they had like the,
Yeah.
And
He
the whole
favors
mask
my
thing as
opinion.
well. I didn't like the way they took off his mask that first time, and in the next scene he doesn't have it on. I was like, well, we had it on before. Why not now?
there was no point for him to take off the mask too with Rey.
What was
There was no
what was
point.
the tone of the atmosphere like in the room when he took off his mask? People laughed every time he showed his face in my viewing.
Yeah,
It was
Like,
just really
I'm not
quiet.
kidding.
In all my screenings, they were
Yeah.
quiet. They were just
Mine-
like, oh.
People laughed. Like I went with people, and when they came out, not all the people I went with their Star Wars fans were like, why did they all laugh every time he took off his mask? I don't know. But
But
they
that's
did.
kind of the point in a way. It's like, oh, it's this big evil guy. Oh man, he like kills and messes up things. Oh, it's just a kid. There's a kid behind that mask. It's like when you see the Wizard of Oz and it's like a broken old man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the Wiz or the Wiz. I watched the Wiz when I was younger,
Wiz,
so I'm sorry, it's different. And then you see that it's like Richard Pryor or whatever, but like it's a whole different thing.
and I get what
Black
they
people
could have
get it.
gone for it. I'm not saying it was a bad idea to have him take the mask off and be this person, as I said, but the way they did it, and just because it's a good idea in concept doesn't mean they executed it well, and they definitely
Right.
didn't. Because again, stroppy teenager.
Yeah. So should we like actually
I
like
personally
move
was
on?
okay with this conflict, but yeah, we should move on. but
Should we
after
talk
that-
about Han and like we kind of already touched on the torture scene just there, so maybe we should move on to
Yeah,
actually
she repels him, and then she has the mind trick thing, which I felt was what? Like, how does she know how to use a mind trick? Which again,
Yeah.
which makes sense if she's a Skywalker and she had some sort of whatever in the past. But in the context of just the movie, it's like,
That's
What?
physically impossible. Luke spent months trying to move a
yeah,
fucking
It
pig
like,
doesn't.
mind tricks are
or a noodle.
difficult.
Yeah.
very difficult.
And then they make
There's
a
no
joke out of it.
appreciation for.
And they just make a joke.
Well, no, I'm okay with the joke. The joke was fine. Like, but her doing it is what I had issues with.
Yeah.
Well, the mind trick or her insight into Kylo's fears? Which one are we
Well,
talking
both,
about?
really. But
Well, both.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with her if she's supposed to be. If we're going with the idea that she's related to him, super strong in the Force, Luke's potential daughter, or something like that, her having an insight into what his fears are while he's
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
fine.
break
oh, that's
into her
fine.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
go
That
that
doesn't-
route, but
That
it's only
doesn't
they
when
go
bother
they
there,
me
yeah.
in the slightest.
Yeah, only if they
But
take that route though.
The other scene though, I get what you're saying. Where
It's
she
a
openly
learned
uses
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, mind trick is a learned thing. It's not something you just naturally just have or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
finding someone who's trying to penetrate you and you're just naturally like resisting, and then it opens up to you. That's okay because that's a natural.
That makes
thing.
sense because like it's like
Yeah.
a bridge.
If
Right.
you're doing it sloppily, yeah, and if she's like say has that connection, but if she doesn't, then
Yeah.
even then that's not really acceptable.
But yeah,
Because
like mind trick and force pulling, like the saber at the end, like that stuff that's learned. Like you don't just do
Yeah.
that.
especially when someone else is trying to exert influence over it in the first place, that makes it pretty
Who
much
has way
impossible.
more?
Yeah.
Like
Even practiced masters can't override other people's powers without very specific strengths in doing so. Like no learner can do it. It's not possible. But again, that's
No.
going by old EU. So
Yeah. But like after that, so
Of the original movies, like Luke took forever to freaking pull the saber out of the snow.
no,
you
but
know?
I mean
yeah.
the overriding abilities thing for masters.
Oh, I see
that
what you
bit,
mean. Yeah.
exactly.
no,
Which,
but like so
it's
Yeah.
if that's one thing that I feel that they definitely have to include because it's like they need an explanation for why force wielders don't go around just choking each other out with telekinesis. Like, why do
Uh-huh.
they bother with lightsabers at all instead of just using their force abilities? Well, it's because they're defensive powers that you use to protect yourself and prevent other people from doing that to you. Whereas, they kind of another problem that they've kind of had with Clone Wars and especially in Rebels when they had Space Aladdin and Kaden slamming Vader with a force push.
Yep.
I'm sorry, even their combined strength is not enough to do that to Vader. Vader outclasses them so far. And it's like, they don't acknowledge the fact that they're defensive powers. Which is a problem. They really need to point that out, because otherwise every single battle no longer makes sense. Why
I'm
would
all
Vader
pushing Kenobi.
Yeah. Like, why would Vader bother fencing with old Ben Kenobi if he could just ragdoll him with telekinesis?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing too, completely off topic, about like battle boards and how they match up feats and stuff like that. They're like, well, he just force choked, that kind of thing. It's like, no, there's something, there's basis to all of this that makes sense,
build up, emotions involved.
If you're distracted by something, and someone blindsides you with the force push, you're gonna go flying a lot easier than if somebody is like doing it directly to you and you're prepared.
Right. All different sort of effects. But anyway,
AKA every time Maul uses the Force against Kenobi. Just saying.
But yeah, they definitely need to build that up, but they're not going to, because they just don't care. They genuinely don't care about that side of things, because they're not that kind of fan. They're the fans. Oh, this scene is good. This character's also. Oh, look at this heroic moment. That's how they see things. They see it from the director's perspective. Which is why all of the written stuff tends to be more in depth, because people.
I think more than the fact
to write it.
Even the novel gets more in depth about this stuff.
Yeah,
because I think it's less that they don't. I think it's less that they don't care and more that it doesn't occur to them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not,
I think that's what it is too.
It's not that they don't care as in, we don't care to get it right. They just mean they don't care about that side of things, so they don't see it. Like, they're thinking, oh, this is a good scene, this is a good character, not this is a good person in this awesome place. It's like, and to an extent, that's kind of just a creator-fan relationship as well. Like, you can't love something as much if you created it than you can if you're diving in and experiencing it firsthand, or not in the same way anyway. Particularly when films are concerned, because you're dealing with so many.
It's just a difference between a casual fan and a deep lore fan. That's all. Like, it's not like sometimes people say like EU fans try to mark themselves up sometimes. I think
that's basically what you're saying.
But sometimes like EU fans, I think, try to like make themselves out to be bigger fans than casual fans, where their enjoyment of that material can be exactly the same. It's just that you have a different type of interaction with that material, and
there really shouldn't be a divide at all. I mean, I'm like, you shouldn't call yourself a Star Wars EU fan or a Star Wars film fan. Just be a Star Wars fan. It makes everything so much easier.
To an extent, but the problem is with that is that and the really annoying thing is, if the creators strove to impress the deep lore fans, they're going to by default impress all the others, because the others people don't see any of the good stuff anyway.
They don't really care.
So why are you aiming for the easy ones? It's like, you just aim for the stars, land on the moon. Don't aim for the moon and fail to take off in the first place.
Yeah, exactly, Matt. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
you gotta be accessible.
Yeah,
but it's also because we don't
Star
speak
Wars,
as loud.
It needs to be more mainstream. Yeah, because Star Wars needs to be more mainstream. Everybody is going to watch it anyway. It's already the most merchandisable thing ever.
Yeah, you're right, but I mean, everyone went to see the Phantom Menace and made like however many millions of dollars, and people complained about it loudly and for 10 years, myself included, And so it's like, oh, we can't do politics, so let's just not explain anything about that galaxy stuff. Like, let's
the people who were complaining got exactly the movie they wanted, and hey, they're enjoying it, so we can't really say much about that, because it's what those certain fans wanted, and they got exactly,
So original trilogy fans that didn't care about Star Wars carrying on are the ones that are now getting Star Wars carried on. The ones that have the 25 years of built universe because they wanted to carry on get thrown by the wayside. Because that's the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen.
That basically just kind of comes down to what my final problem with this film is. It's trying to appeal to us, the fans, on an emotional level with a classic Star Wars experience. But the problem is that that's not the way into my heart. I'm someone who became a Star Wars fan for the lore of the EU. I care about the history, the lore. It's like, I care about this built-up universe. I'm not here for just some cheap visual spectacle and some cool clashing lightsabers. It's like, I'm here because I want to know, what's the next step in this conflict? What are the Jedi and the Sith going to do to each other? How is the galaxy being changed by the two sides of the Force? But no, they're not focusing on that, because all they care about is getting back to that original trilogy experience.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in my perfect world, I would have a movie like what you're describing, but in like the world that like I live in, like I've accepted we can't do that. Like, it's a 2-hour movie, and they're gonna squash together what they can to provide. They're gonna bank on the things that the general public knows about, not Tales of the Jedi or something like that. And I've always known that. I've accepted that. The expanded universe is always there for me. I just wanted this thing to stand up on its own merits. Like, and I feel like the complaints I have about it or when it doesn't do that. I'm never going to complain about it for not aligning with other stuff. I've known that isn't going to happen for some time.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
same
You know.
perspective I
That's
went
the
into
same
film
issues I
for.
have with it too. Is what happens to
Yep.
it in the context of the movie itself in relation to what they've
Yeah.
established is what we have, not because
Yeah, that
Anything
obviously
else?
annoys me to no end. But I was going in that with a separate mindset, and even that mindset was disappointed heavily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which is annoying. Anyway, where were we up to? Because we derailed massively, and we're at the
We should
point of the plot.
maybe we should just do the Kylo Han confrontation because we've already they're on Starkiller
We've
Base
discussed
now.
the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything else
so-
is just superfluous. The base, the lead up to the fight, the
So let's just talk about the Han
Yeah.
scene then.
Poe coming back. I guess.
Okay.
Was the other thing.
They,
but-
they, okay.
The big
well,
twist.
They killed off Han Solo.
How
didn't see
about
that coming.
I saw it coming.
I saw that coming.
Yeah,
Oh, I
there's
think we
no
all said that already. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that coming a mile away.
I mean, even if you didn't, the scene set up for it, like, oh, they've come up and they're seeing this happen. Oh, Chewie's there, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
The bridge that would never be built because what the, who
Where is the
put
safety
handrails
rail?
on that?
It's a safety rail.
Why is it
This-
that thin a
This
moment?
classic
No
Callan.
handrails.
The things you notice, man.
That's a big one though. No
Why would they
handrails
build
on something like that.
I just like, it's just funny to
What
like
is its
envision you in
function?
your seat. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Um,
Anyway, yeah. So all of that set up, you knew it was going to happen then, even if you didn't beforehand.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I liked it. I liked it personally because I think I really liked Kylo's conflict with the dark side because I never think we really got really deep into what the dark side does to a person, especially when they haven't really been fully trained because it's been indicated that Snoke never really fully trained him. Like he still has to complete his training with the dark side. And when he had that conversation with Han, he's like, I'm being ripped from the inside because, he's being open to this thing without really, I don't know how to explain it, but I understood. I understood where he was coming
without
from.
understanding it.
Yeah, he was opening himself into it without understanding it. And when you don't understand how to meld that thing, it's going to rip you apart.
Right.
And it's something else I think that isn't really established in the main movies, but it is in like I say, the deep lore, is that the dark side deteriorates you physically and internally. Like your soul, it's kind of like Voldemort in Harry Potter. Your soul is breaking down. And I feel like that's exactly what he was going through. And for him to, that whole scene, like visually, and I think on an emotional level, really worked for me because they had, the whole bit about the sun being siphoned by the Starkiller Base and it going out, and that representing, Kylo's light going out and Ben officially being gone and stabbing. And I liked the bit with Han after he gets stabbed and he still touches
With the hand,
the
yeah.
face of not Kylo, but Ben. Like, even though he was being killed by this Darksider who's gone, his son is gone, he still wanted to feel his son in some way. And the only thing that was there was just the face of his son. And I don't know, for that, it was really emotional for me. I guess because I was putting so much into it because I was really thinking about that father-son relationship and what was going on internally with Kylo, that it really landed for me. Like, even though, like, yeah, you can say, like, oh, like, Han went out like a punk or whatever, like,
I would never say that.
I would never say that either.
I
yeah.
still felt like, I don't know, for me, it was compelling. It was very compelling.
I wanted it to be for me. And I think it's the question of sincerity on Ben's part. Like, is he really going through a range of emotions there, do you think?
That's the thing.
Or-
couldn't
I
tell, and
personally
that's
felt it.
what
I know some people
disliked.
can say, like, oh, no, I think he was tricking him. But if that was the case, he would have killed him right off,
but
I think.
The way
I
he
think he was really
specifically
much-
says, "I want you to help me with something," and then he was always planning to do that, and then it
Right.
kind of
No.
hits him. Do I? Yeah.
Right.
But it
Right,
wasn't
no,
like,
that's-
oh God, I can't do it. It was just a, do I do it? Is this is the point? He was making the decision as opposed to struggling with it. I feel.
Yeah, I mean they give you an insight into where this is going from like the first scene in the film, basically. Like that this is coming, that this confrontation. They spell it out for you like an hour before you get to it when he talks with Snoke about like, hey, your father, and like this is your test or whatever. I just feel like it would have been better maybe if he didn't know to expect Han. Like it just like maybe that would have created a genuine question. Like he turns around and he's just there and he's like he's like truly caught off guard, and that's when you can kind of watch him. Maybe I don't know. Like he just didn't. I didn't believe him. Like when he was talking about, I want to change or whatever. I don't know how. Like I don't remember what he said. I'm bad with quotes. But all that spiel, I thought it was just that, a spiel. Like I didn't feel like he meant it. If I was supposed to, I didn't.
I was expecting it to be a case of he fights Finn and Rey, defeats them, about to kill them, then Han turns up, then has this moment, which kind of this array of him having killed him is what lets them escape rather than chasms being opened in the floor. But I thought that would have made sense more mechanically and formulaically because it would have been everyone present seeing it more as opposed to just them all happening to turn up at the same point for this and the struggle he had. Again, because it was expected, like we knew it was coming. It wasn't like you said didn't just turn up. It felt like, well, you've clearly pre-planned this. Why is it now shocking you? And again, it did allude to it before because it said, "I still feel the call to the light, and I fear that I'm not going to have the strength and stuff." But we didn't see. It was weird because the actor was portraying the emotions, but we didn't quite see the written emotions. If you know what I mean? They didn't add up. We were seeing emotions on his face. We just weren't seeing whether or not they were fake.
No, I think I personally got it, especially when he mentioned Snoke specifically, where it felt like it was a kid who was truly being indoctrinated by this legion, like this cult, even, and like the father's just trying to get him from this cult and really get into him, and he's like, no, like I know this is what I want to do, or I need to do to have my life mean something, like I don't know, maybe I'm just putting too much meaning into it because that's just what I am bringing into it.
I think it's my general problem with him being on the dark side when we meet him. Like Anakin isn't. And so after he turns, he's still heavily conflicted. You could still say he's in like the throes of the dark side or whatever, even on Mustafar, but he's crying. Like there's something. If he had cried after he like I really cried like after he killed Han. Like if he was having a hard time in that moment, like a part of him regretted it, I would have bought it. I didn't buy it like the way it was.
And he goes,
yeah.
I mean, he gets shot by Chewbacca as well, which seems kind of.
Chewie's reaction to it is the only time I was emotionally like invested in that scene.
Same. Like,
Chewie's reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Shoots like, that's it. You're dead to me. Bang. Which I loved.
Yeah.
But then the whole how it played out after that, and it's like, okay, straight into the fight scene. Brush that aside. Han's dead. Move on. It was again the pacing. Moments happened. Characters done what it needed to do. Move on. Same with Poe. Same with Mars.
Yeah.
Mars. Yeah. And
Mars. Yeah.
Now here. Same with Han. It didn't ring true, which is a shame.
I definitely felt for me, I definitely did feel a little rushed at the end, like the end part.
Oh yeah, the end part I felt was extremely rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt like an almost different movie because it was so well paced. I think before, and then at this point, it just felt like
the third act.
The third act needed like a revise or something, or someone needed to read through it, or I don't know. Like also, like I said, the Dark base felt so, which I think is one of the reasons why JJ wanted to wait until 2016 to release it, because originally he asked for an extension. But Disney was like, nah, you're good.
Okay, that might explain some of it then. I mean, even the way the Starkiller base was destroyed was like, oh, we're not doing anything. It's like we might as well not be here. And then, oh, wait, look, someone accidentally blew up a hole. It's like,
well, let's also look at the fact that there was like 15 or 20 at most X-wings.
Yeah, that annoyed me so much.
Attacking an entire
planet,
like something 30 times larger than the Death Star. Where are their defenses?
Yeah.
Where are their Star Destroyers? Where are their TIE fighters? Why is there only like squadrons? Like,
why are there only X-wings? I mean, not that's a big deal, but there were already variation beforehand. Like they send what you see a roughly 12 flying in the first place.
Yeah, there was like 16 at most.
Then you see them engage like 100 minimum. And then after that, they say, we've lost half our fleet. It's like, actually, sorry, it's a squadron. You should know this. You're an admiral.
Yeah.
And then it shows us like 15. So it's more than what they had originally. And then immediately after that, you only see 6. It's like, what? What's happening? Why? What? How are we supposed to care about these people? And it's like,
it wasn't thought out to me.
It's just the fact.
It also doesn't help that like they kept cutting inside for the pilots, but we don't even know who these pilots are.
Yeah, or what they're doing.
Yeah.
You so rarely see these ships actually flying.
Yeah.
We don't know which pilot is
Sorry.
flying. We don't know which pilot is flying what ship and what that pilot is doing. All we have is battle chatter with no clear idea of what's going on, which is a problem.
Which you didn't have in the original trilogy. I mean, even BB-8. I mean, he's in there with Poe, but when do you see him?
Like once or twice. really.
Do you even see him in that dogfight? I can't remember.
No,
I think there is. I think really, I thought there was a scene where he kind of swivels in the back when the
yeah,
tires were-
like you do, but you don't see like a
Yeah,
bunch.
R2 had the whole thing where he would just extend and repair the thing. It's a minor thing, but hey, fix it what you can do, R2. Like as though he was actually had a presence, as opposed
and
to
he got
shot.
and he got shot.
Yeah,
remember.
another little thing. Everything just felt they added.
Oh yeah, this is
flavor
nothing
to it.
like the original Trench Run at all. Like
Yeah.
there was so much more circumstance and build up in there. Like you had the first set of X-wings going in, they fell. They had a second one before Luke went in, right?
Yeah, Y-wings.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
And then Luke goes in, all his allies are dead. Like it looks like it's over. Like there's escalating actions. There was no
Yeah.
escalating actions in this fight, and that's just
They just
again.
they just brought everything they had to the table immediately without
And everything they had was one squadron, which they referred to as a fleet, which sounds like a nitpick, but that's a pretty big deal. In the
it's
films,
a big deal.
In
It's
the
a big deal.
films, they established a fleet was what attacked the Death Star. That was a fleet.
And this is something that you talk about in the context of just the movie, not
Yeah,
from
yeah, I'm
the
not talking about
outside.
EU.
It's just the movie.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, and it's inconsistent. Like, we've lost half our fleet. Okay, fine, it's a fleet, whatever. But no, we'll just see double the amount that we were originally shown. So
Yeah, that's
it's just
one of those.
are we
What?
supposed to care with this flying in our face? And then
Yeah.
the thing was
Yeah.
destroyed, and that's it.
And
I think
yeah,
that-
it's also it's another one of the things about Back to Starkiller Base is that the logistics of Starkiller Base don't make quite as much sense as like for the reasons that we discussed before, but also one of the things about the Death Star that made it practically unassailable was that the super laser itself could be used as an effective defense against any attacking fleets or warships. In fact, that's exactly what we see the Death Star doing in Return of the Jedi. But with Starkiller Base, you don't get that. That weapon can only be used to destroy planets. You can't use that thing for point defense at close range, which is actually kind of a problem with this whole thing because it lacks the Death Star's versatility.
And again, it doesn't even establish that it can
I
move.
never,
Yes,
I
it
never
can,
thought
but-
I'd say that, but goddamn, the Death Star has versatility.
Yeah, I know,
Starkiller Base doesn't.
And again, it's
Yikes.
almost like 50 times the size from what that hologram. It's like, what, really? It's like. Also, did
I
we
didn't-
see Ren escape the explosion?
No,
I
we
know
didn't.
it's
But
implied,
Snoke said bring him
Yeah,
back
he says
to me.
bring him
so,
back.
yeah,
Did we
yeah.
actually see that? Because
We didn't actually
it.
see it.
No.
That was something we needed to see, which in another little bit of a problem. They just say, okay, come to me with Kylo Ren. It's like they just leave it at that. And it's like we never get any visual indicator that Kylo Ren actually survived because guess what? The planet's collapsing and he's stuck out in the middle of the wilderness next to a flaming chasm.
Yeah. Wounded.
I mean, even in New Hope, you saw Darth Vader's starship right itself
Yeah.
and then go out into
Right.
the
yeah,
in
which
space
is all you
after
need.
the
Just
Death
a
Star
single shot.
exploded. Yeah.
That's all you need. Nothing special. Just, not this like breaking the film that we haven't seen it or anything, but it was another thing to
Well,
add to the pile.
It's just such like the way that he was left is like it's movie stuff. Like okay,
Yeah.
the ground
It's
opens
movie
up and they
stuff.
find
Oh,
themselves on
God.
opposite sides of the chasm, and it's like
Dark and
we're
light.
probably related, and I'm on
Yeah.
the dark side and you're on the light side, and it's
Yeah.
just like
And
It was a
Yeah.
soap opera.
It would have been better
Maybe-
again if it
yeah.
made more sense and more emotionally impactful if it had been he'd beaten them and then the Han thing happened, which is what ended the fight, and then that separated they escaped, that kind of thing. That just seems like
Yeah.
it would have made more sense emotionally and
And maybe we should use that to segue into talking about the
into
fight
duel.
itself.
Fight
Yeah,
itself.
because I think he should have won the duel and at the end been like, "Join me! Look, we're so awesome! Like I'm better than you." And then she's like, "No," and then like someone comes and saves her or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't
You
have
mean
been
like
the whole
Empire?
moment she had.
yeah,
you
Luke's
know?
moment where he's like
it
and it's
Yeah.
not falling off, but then that's when she
I know what
makes
you
the
mean, though,
decision,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
she starts fighting better or something. But that, oh my god, before we talk about the fight, that last bit where she's leaning over, like she's literally bent backwards like this, braced up against the saber, so he could physically not have failed to kill her in that moment. And then they have that weird serene moment. It's like, really? She's bent backwards over the edge of a chasm and she's having the serene moment here. Who is writing this?
Yeah.
Even when you're watching, you're
Yeah.
like, "This is really awkward. How does no one say like, what's happening? Why is it so?" And it was long too.
Yeah, and again,
Like,
it goes
Yeah.
back to the whole
The longer
story.
it was, the more like outlandish it was. Because
Yeah, seriously, very jarring.
All he had to do
Like-
was just push. And I mean, blade locks are stupid anyway, but with that on
Yeah,
top
blade
of
locks are
it,
stupid.
it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I overall did not care for the lightsaber duel at all, like just choreography wise. They were trying too hard to distance themselves from the prequel trilogy, and they went too far in the opposite direction. It's like, I mentioned this earlier. It's like Kylo Ren fights like fucking Savage Opress. He's just hacking at you, and that's what all of them are ever do. That's all any of them ever do with the lightsaber. They just hack at you.
Am I the only one who just kept thinking Jon Snow?
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Oh my
sorry.
God.
No, I felt
I
that
mean,
as well.
like,
Yep.
honestly, everything from the way he looked to the design of his weapon to the setting to, it was like, how much of this is just banking on like other stuff that's popular right now? Like that has nothing to do with Star Wars. Just like let's appeal to everybody. You know,
because Star Wars isn't already doing that.
Yeah, I just didn't. And then like maybe this is my problem, but I didn't get why like he was hitting himself like that.
Oh, that was him like building up his adrenaline. That was like
the wound.
Slapping his like, he had like a leather brace something going around, which made sense to be more of an impact to stop the pain. I can kind of guess it, but it didn't ring true in the film.
No, I've watched.
I was fine with it. I got it.
I've watched people's other reviews and they brought that up and I'm like, okay, I guess. But at the time, I just thought he's like, what is going on?
It's one of those things that actually makes sense. It's one of those things that makes sense from a mechanical perspective, but doesn't work in the film, which you never get me saying.
I know. It's another one of those little Darth Caedus-y personality traits they put in there, like trying to imply, oh, this guy feeds off of pain, so he's smacking his own wounds to make himself hurt more so he can become more powerful.
I actually thought it was the opposite. I thought it was him hitting his thing to be like, I'm not actually beating this guy who should not be contending with me at all. It's like, get in the game. That's what it felt like to me. Not like him saying like,
well, Andrew, he was hitting the spot where the wound was. Like,
that was him like telling himself to get his head like, this guy should not be beating me right now. I know it's because of this wound. Like fuck this wound. Like, I don't know if you guys ever know any macho dudes in your life, like if you play sports or anything like that, but freaking crazy macho dudes do that, who are freaking psycho and like.
That's why he lost me, maybe, because I couldn't relate.
You don't know those guys. Yeah, I know how that. I've seen that guy. My dad has been that guy when he works out. It's like that.
I've seen it, but not in that kind of situation. And I feel like it was more a plot device to say, okay, this has to be we have to keep reminding them that the only reason he's winning is because he's wounded. You know, I feel like that was the only reason it happened at all. Yeah, to justify it.
It's less the emotion and more just like, again, the range of emotions he was going through just never made sense to. Like he screams traitor at Finn. That bugged me.
Why
and
would
it shouldn't.
Care?
It's a nitpick. It's not a big deal. It bugs me. Like I just didn't get why he was so angry about that. Or
it was kind of weird.
Why he would care?
Unless there was some established past between the two, but there wasn't. And for there not being any established past between them, saying that out of nowhere. And it wasn't even like he was a huge nationalist. Like, even it would make sense if he was like this nationalist, like throughout the whole movie, where he's like, "Oh, I'm first order." Hux saying that would make sense, but him, it wasn't like he ever was like first order first, or anything like that. He was just he just was into power. Like, he wouldn't say like traitor, like you.
He routinely terrifies the troops. It's not like he cares about the national pride.
Yeah, he screams and he talks bad about them, like, oh, they're shitty, they're only good at committing high treason, I don't want them.
Yeah. So he makes a joke about it early on, so why is he so bothered now?
And then he's all traitor. And I was like, who are you? What are you doing? You know.
I know.
He seems
like calling someone a traitor in an angry voice is something that Vader would do, because Vader actually does that. You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yeah.
It's just.
But still, it's like Kylo Ren. It doesn't.
It's also like.
It would. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm thinking out loud on stuff that doesn't matter.
It would make sense if Vader were to do something like that, because we've seen Vader do something like that, and Vader is lawful evil. Whereas Kylo Ren, it's like
not.
It's like he's not that dedicated to the Order. He's got a personal loyalty to Snoke himself. He doesn't care about the First Order. It's like it's like you said this. He talked smack about the troops. He's in direct competition with Admiral Hux. Mm-hmm. It's like this guy, he views the stormtroopers as a means to an end. So if he sees a stormtrooper traitor, it'd just be like, whatever.
Yeah. Just the fact he even remembers him, it should have been like, who are you? Like that would have made more like he steps in like the way to like defend Rey from her or him, and he'd be like
get out of here, bro.
Guy? Like I mean, like, who do you think you are? Like that would have been the reaction I wanted, not traitor.
I mean, they call them numbers. I mean, they're not going to care who they are.
Right.
The number that what are you doing? Traitor.
Numbers mean you're disposable. Yeah.
Which stormtroopers weren't supposed to be by default either, but. That's an EU thing, I guess. It just dampens it, the whole fight, and the fight in general. Like the whole, they wanted it to be like in all the interviews and stuff we were talking about. It wanted to be raw and gritty and not choreographed. And all that. I was like, yeah, I get the idea, and it did need to be more that way than it was in the prequels, but not
Yeah.
flip reverse.
Right.
And the way it went down as well.
That's
like
not an
Finn,
excuse for lame choreography.
Like, and sharing the lightsaber. What was the point of that? Why did Finn get a fight, then Rey get a fight? Because I don't get the impression that Finn's going to be the lightsaber type in this trilogy.
No.
Yeah. Well, it's
I think
actually
it was
like
more
I
of
kind of
his
got the.
art.
I suppose
it
it
was
was more
more
the fact
of
that she was
Finn-
unwilling, and he was willing to take up the fight, and she was kind of
Yeah.
a little bit less inclined.
Well,
That's what I thought it would be at
Yeah.
first.
yeah.
Well, like my impression personally is that Finn wasn't even force sensitive at all.
Yeah,
No, he
that's
wasn't.
what I mean.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
he's
Huh?
not.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry, before we move on, the stormtrooper fight in the middle, the first time he uses the saber. With the,
oh, I forgot about that.
I was
Did anyone
thought
else
it was
think that was
completely
ludicrous?
stupid at first. Yeah, I thought
yeah.
it was stupid at first, but then someone explained
That's-
to me, and they made a pretty good point where it was like, in terms of the traitor line and all that kind of stuff. I think that makes more sense for a personal stormtrooper, like another person that he knows who wants to do actual harm to him, not like let him the easy way out where he wants to just blast them in the head and like you're dead. I think he really like.
you know who they had for
Why
that,
do
right?
that?
That they didn't use Phasma.
Phasma. Yeah, like
Oh
it should
my
have been
God,
like his
don't even!
boss.
Oh my God, don't even! You
Phasma.
know what? That's an
Yeah.
issue of the marketing more than anything.
Yeah, but
Yes,
still,
it is.
Blowing
but-
up.
Phasma was a complete waste of a character. If you
But
ask
also,
me.
she's cast by like a known name. It's not
Yeah.
like she's just, oh, this is a random character. It's like she's in like a super popular series.
Like,
you know,
Where
where's
is
your
annoyed
national
me as
pride
well.
where you can't, like, yeah, I'll take a bullet to the head. I'm not going to lower the shields. Like, that's what you would do.
Yeah.
You'd be like, shoot me in the head.
Yep.
Okay, do it. You're not going to get the shields down. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
like-
a true, like, nationalist who Phasma should be, if she's that top tier, would do. You know what I mean? Like,
and she tells off Finn. She tells Husk, I need to remember his name. That she told off Finn, and then she
made him recondition. Yeah.
lets him in. That was it. That was all she did. That was the only
Yeah.
purpose.
She was barely in the movie and she didn't do anything.
It was such a waste. And again, the voice as well annoyed me. It sounded like she wasn't in charge. She was kind of like the middleman, which I guess she kind of is. In
Yeah.
the
she
grand
was.
scheme.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme, yeah,
Yeah.
but not from the perspective of the character she was
You
interacting
know,
with. She wasn't.
what
was
she
like a big
was a completely
Whole
worthless
third
character.
act,
yeah.
Like she just
Completely.
didn't need to be there.
It was pointless.
She was Boba Fett Mark II, as in Boba Fett based on how he appeared in the movies.
But Boba Fett was actually more useful than she was.
Yeah.
I know.
Seriously.
It's like Boba Fett actually accomplished things.
And he wasn't even
He
really
did
supposed to. He just kind of vaguely existed, then accidentally got popular. But she was supposed to be
This was the
popular and they didn't
opposite.
do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh.
If they cut her out, some of this stuff would have made more sense. Like if Kylo Ren had her role, and like he notices Finn's like
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
disillusionment in the first battle, and it would have been like, hey, what's up with him? Or like you know, like if he had that relationship where like you need to report to reconditioning, that also makes the trailer line make a modicum of sense.
Yeah.
Because he would be the
Totally
one
right.
watching it. So I mean, her character just baffled me and didn't need to be there at all,
So annoying.
like at all. you
No
know?
purpose.
The
But
first
she's
female
a cool-
stormtrooper, and she did absolutely
she's
nothing.
gonna be a cool toy for everybody though, so that's why she's there.
Oh, it's annoying.
Yeah, but yeah, that.
There was someone else like that as well. I guess Hux to an extent. I mean, Hux didn't really do anything. He was there to be the
Yeah, Hux didn't do
Imperial in the
anything,
room.
but he was the least
just-
problematic of the First Order.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sucks. I
just-
shouldn't give him
he was
praise
just-
because he's the least problematic.
and he was so. I feel like if he'd been,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just part of a scene that kind of derailed the movie
Yeah.
for me.
and that's the
There's
thing.
nothing wrong with what he did.
All of these actors are doing such great jobs. Like, he was a great Imperial officer, and I could really get behind him as a character. But they're written so poorly, or the scene itself
Yeah.
is written poorly, or both. It's just. I mean, like you said before, Antoine, because we haven't mentioned it before. The awkward stares. There are like 6 of them throughout the film. You've got. Which ones were they actually? I remember 2 of them.
The Luke awkwardness.
Luke awkwardness at the end. We'll talk about that later. But the
The interrogation was a little bit long
yeah,
too.
The
That went
Finn
on
and Ray in the
too
bar.
long for me.
The Finn and Rey.
Yeah.
That was the big one for me because that was supposed to establish
People
their bond.
shouldn't
And it was
be-
just what you
people-
guys know each other for a day. Why do you care?
Yep.
Yeah. But the, like,
But I did like the
interrogation
play how
scene-
they. Oh, go ahead.
Just people shouldn't be laughing during that. It went on so long, people started to snicker, like in my
Really, I
audience.
have any snake.
Yeah,
Happened a few
yeah.
times to me, which is saying something because British audiences don't make much noise.
yeah.
And yeah, so
You know,
touching
I
moment
didn't
where she's
think it was
getting
funny,
hurt
but
and
I
he's
liked it.
leaving her, and people are laughing at it. It's like, really? That's not a good
That's
sign.
not good.
And that was a stupid lie revealed moment as well, which is just completely pointless. Yeah.
Should we move into the ending now?
Yeah, we're losing focus. Yeah, so they escape after the fight.
What is the ending? Like, are we talking about the resolution? Are we kind of done?
Just the
Like,
end,
the-
like everything in the
That was
end.
pretty much it. They had a little celebration because
like-
they destroyed it.
I mean,
Yeah,
apart
they,
from like,
they put up that like R2D2 wakes up out of
I was
nowhere.
gonna
Yeah,
say,
which happened
yeah,
for what reason?
apart from like what you guys are gonna bring up with Luke at the end, like, what was R2's deal? Like he
He had the backup data of where the first Jedi temple was.
The
But
Empire
no,
had it in the
yeah, sure,
archives, and he had
but-
the backup stuff. But
but-
why was he
Yeah.
not awake?
How do you know to wake up?
No.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't make sense.
None.
Yeah.
Some people are trying to equate that it has something to do with Rey and her presence on the planet, but then it's like, but
He's a droid.
He's already
yeah,
there.
exactly. Like, how would
But
he feel
wasn't she
that?
already there earlier in the movie?
No, she
Yeah.
wasn't. Everybody thinks that,
wait,
which is
no.
actually really okay. Here's something I want to talk about, which is really weird. When Leia and Rey see each other, because Rey was still on Circular Base when Finn and Han had came back.
They hug.
When they they hug and
Yeah.
they or like, so it's like
I found that really weird. That was another really weird,
What?
awkward pause.
I didn't
She's
even
looking
notice
at him, and
that,
she's
like-
like,
I neither died. First time I watched it, I didn't notice it, but the second time I was like, wait, this is their first time meeting. How the f do they know each other?
wait, no, was it
not
though?
a
'Cause that didn't ring
clue
true. That
about
didn't
that.
hit me, and that. Did
What?
we get something?
Of what?
No. Oh wait, no.
What are you talking about?
You're
What are
right.
you talking about? What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
they never met.
You're
Yeah,
right.
they never
Oh my
interacted with each
God,
other
I
at
don't
all.
remember stuff like that. And Jesus, yeah. But
So it's like,
That went
wait,
over my head.
why are they hugging each other? Because
Ray's just hugging this random.
yeah, like
the only thing is, you know, the expression that she's trying to get across, that she was written to show, I'm sorry, I've got to deliver this bad news. I don't know how to deliver it, and I'm so
For Han,
sorry
yeah.
for you. Yeah, and,
And she's like, I already know.
and she's like,
But she already
I know,
knows,
I know,
yeah.
it's all right. But it's like,
Yeah.
why she's hugging him? That just makes no sense. Two, the emotion didn't quite carry through to me because that was one of the examples where I didn't think the actress got, got the emotion across. Like she seemed sort of more lost than anything else. Like, I don't know what to do. Help me, rather than I've got this information to give you.
Right.
Why was it not Chewie giving the information?
Unless
that kind of
unless
stuff?
they knew each other, but that never was established that they like it was weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
It's very odd.
Like
And
they
Leia
put-
seemed not even remotely touched by it. Like she was just.
Well,
yeah, she sensed it.
She
and
sent
was-
him to
yeah.
his death. She should feel guilt
Yeah,
and
yeah.
horror and. Oh. And meanwhile, Luke just sat on his island looking loopy.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that now. So they put the map together. Then Rey and Chewie go into the Falcon, go on to the journey to the first Jedi Temple, and we see Luke for a very limited.
I'm okay. In my theater, there's a guy next to me. The second time I saw it, like it was while they're celebrating, he's like, "What the fuck? Whole movie, no Luke." Like I live in the hood, so like
Yeah.
this is what it was like. It was like I was like, yes, I feel you, but like we just wait for like 2 more seconds, and then when it came, he was like, "That still sucked." Like,
Yeah.
that's
literally
Yeah.
40 seconds of Luke, and then he says
see-
nothing. Doesn't even give us a line.
He just
She
just
goes up
look.
there. Yeah,
Cut.
she goes up there. He turns around, takes off his hood, and they just
In a very
stare.
Shakespearean, like I felt like his hood thing was very melodramatic. He was
Yeah,
like this,
it
he
was
like
like-
kept his arm like that, and it was like
well, what the hell was he doing before she got there?
He's just staring up into the
That's-
sunset.
he was taking a
I
piss.
mean, I just was like, you don't get to just. I know you're Luke Skywalker, but you can't just be like. Yoda wasn't doing that. He was living his life, you know. And then Luke shows up, and he's like, "Okay, well, we're doing this." Luke is like, "So you've arrived." Like, I'm gonna say it all with my. But even like his face, I didn't even know what he was feeling.
No,
Is
he's
he
kind of
happy
looking at
she's here or not?
And
yeah. Now some review
you
was
gotta
like, oh
remember as
yeah, he
well-
had so much emotion about all his years. Like, but I didn't really get
Not
what
really.
he was just
was
older.
happening.
And you've got to remember, this isn't Grandmaster Luke. This is the first time we've seen Luke since he was celebrating at the Ewok party. From yeah, that is what was.
Yeah, no, you're right, you're
and
right.
he's gone from that to this. It's like people who don't
So
know
the
the
thing-
Grandmaster storyline and stuff that didn't now happen, but kind of still character-wise applies, are just going to be completely lost. Like what?
Well, I think the mystery there, and it seemed to work for other people because everybody else kind of enjoyed it. Is that that's the mystery? Is like, what happened? What are we going to find out about Luke now? Like that's kind of what the play is.
It was
right
there.
now.
It was there just to set things up.
Yeah,
That's like that.
but-
that
We don't
that
like it because we're like, come on. But
yeah.
other people were like, oh yeah, let's see episode 8 now. So
But that's just it. Like
I would've
episode
liked-
8, like they say episode 8 is going to be taking place pretty
Right
soon
after.
episode
Yeah.
7, and we know that they've actually like Luke and
Filmed.
Ray have actually filmed scenes because that scene takes place in Scotland on a
It's one of the
remote
earliest
island.
ones they did, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is weird,
So
'cause
we
it's
know. So the beginning of episode 8's probably just going to pick up there, but again, it's there just for the sake of setting things up.
And it was such
I
a
wish he
bad
just said-
exiting shot. It was just
Yeah.
a GoPro.
I wish he'd
spinning.
said something. Like, I don't care what he would have said.
Yeah, like
but just
we didn't get a
something to,
single
like,
line from either of
and
them.
it's not more just to like less because Luke needs a line and more because I don't know what this scene is trying to convey because I know that she's like offering herself or her lightsaber, her services, her power or whatever. I get that on her end, like what she's bringing. I don't know how he reacted to it. I just don't.
what is his answer? What is his reaction to her
Yeah.
being there?
I've got the feeling
Yeah.
he's going to be the begrudging mentor. Like, I'm not going to train you. Like, no. And she has to
Yeah,
convince
that's-
him
that's
in
what's
the
gonna
most
happen.
horrifically generic, horrible way possible. And it's like, oh.
Probably.
It's gonna be tough in book 4.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
which worked for her, but oh,
It makes sense that Toph would be a person like that, but it doesn't make sense that Luke would be a person like that because it's like just going off of what we know about Luke's character from the original movies. It's like this whole thing about Luke basically deciding, okay, my Jedi Order imploded, so now I'm just going to bugger off to, remote world and just do nothing because fuck everything. It's like that's completely out of character for Luke Skywalker. His entire personality, everything he does, is built around the whole idea of persevering in the face of impossible odds. It's like he's the guy.
caring.
Yeah, it's like even just going by a movie purist Luke deciding to just disappear and bugger off and do nothing for 20 years is out of character. It doesn't matter how bad things get. This guy will not break. Like,
Yeah.
Now the only way they can subvert that is if they indicate that he is doing something. But as of right now,
they
it seems
freaking
like
better. Like they're better.
Yeah.
They're
as of
better
right now, it
be
seems
a-
like he's not.
Yeah.
There better be a class somewhere on one of those islands in the next movie. I swear to
Well,
God.
Just something. Like not just him.
But
being
why not? But why not show that? Like that's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah, I know.
note to
Why not
end
show
on.
that within the
Like
context of the
you don't
thing?
have to. You don't have to tell me anything about what he's got cooking. Just show me he has something. Just
Yeah,
show
just
it to me.
anything.
Not to
We
say a
still
word
don't
about
know
it.
why the film's called The Force Awakens. So that
Right,
needed to
yeah.
be established in the last shot, if nothing else. It's just a stupid title now. It makes no sense.
Well, didn't they even say like in the actual film they had a conversation about there's been an awakening? Like that wasn't just the trailer, right? That was
Yeah, no,
like
they
a
said-
What
Snoke.
was that?
Snoke said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Did
it's
it-
specifically
Yeah.
referring to Rey, I thought, in that instance.
I think it's talking about Rey. Yeah.
But they can't be The Force Awakens through Rey only. That just...
No, I just mean like
And that's very
that's
funny.
to me.
Oh, go ahead.
maybe it awakened within her or whatever crap they're going with. I don't know.
Right.
It seems really weird to name the title off her personal awakening. though.
It's really weird as well because they have this whole thing about them trying to stay away from midichlorians because their reasoning for not liking midichlorians is because it seemed like it was just tied to certain people where they wanted it to be more inclusive, the Force inclusive, and then they have this where it's like, oh no, it's only Rey is like our only hope now. Like they're like everybody's saying, like it's just doing what we've already done before. Like, and it shouldn't be that. I was actually hoping that it would have been more about like the benefit of the light side always to me was that it was the community of it or the bond that you have with someone. So I always personally what I felt was that Finn and Rey would have been going on this journey together because the light side and harmony is what makes it so great, while the individual, which would have been Kylo Ren, in my version of what I thought would be, is this powerhouse that they have to defeat. But it's not really going that direction anymore, so it's kind of weird. Like I don't like they're having this whole like just Rey is like our hope now, and she needs to be trained by Luke now. So
Yeah, like didn't we do this? Didn't we
weird.
do this before? Didn't we do this before?
Yeah,
we did do this before.
and it was done
Yep.
better, far better. So I don't.
Yeah.
What confused me most is that everyone was coming out of the films really happy with it. Like,
Well,
get
no,
most
I can
people-
understand why someone will be happy with this movie.
I can understand it
You know-
too. Yeah.
You can understand
But
it. Oh, sorry, I can't. I
I-
don't understand how people can be happy with this movie.
I
Just
don't
on the
think
face,
I-
it's a rehash alone. Like,
Well, when I walked out, everybody was kind of like, "Ooh, I don't know what we just watched." Like that, it was a very subdued. Like there was a lot of, yeah, I liked that part. There was a lot of conversation like that.
I mean,
Nobody was like, "It's fucking awesome," or nobody said that.
Don't get me wrong,
Like,
it wasn't people coming out of my film like that either. There weren't people going, "Oh, that was great, it was amazing, Star Wars is back."
Yeah,
kind of thing.
no-
but
no
there was
one's been
no
saying,
excitement.
Mine either.
But it was still a case of, "Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, I like that." And I was just
Yeah,
sitting there going,
everybody's. It's
"That
always
was
been pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, as somebody who like pretty much agrees with like Connor's perspective on the EU, that like for me it's not going anywhere and I like it better. But trying to like this movie on its own merits and not comparing it to anything else, I had fun with it. But even in that context, it's only okay for me. I had fun watching it, but it's not. I don't know. I've heard some people say that they think it's more competent than the prequels, and I don't know that I agree with that.
I don't. It's less offensive openly than the prequels from the whole
It's
really bad.
It's more
points aren't as
engaging.
bad. Like, there's no Jar Jar in this film. But
Yeah, it's more engaging. It does some things more right than those did, but it's not. I was confused. I didn't know what was going on a lot of the time.
It does,
And
it's
I was
not doing
trying to-
anything legendary in any capacity, better
No.
or for worse. It's just kind of there at the end of the day. I
Safe.
mean, at least for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a safe Star
Which-
Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is basically the reason why I was so displeased when I first heard that J.J. Abrams was picked to direct. J.J. Abrams is the safe option. And that's exactly what this movie is. It's playing it safe on almost every point. In some cases, trying so hard to play it safe that they go too far in the other direction. And because of that, it's like, it's bland.
bland is definitely the word for this one.
Mm.
Which for me, going in, already knowing I wasn't going to like it for the EU stuff, I put that aside, going in, wanting to see it from the newcomer's perspective, wanting to see it just for the merits of its own film. And I was like, I can't even like it for that. So well done.
Yeah, I only feel like it fell apart for me in the third act. That's really where for me like everything, and that's that's clearly that's the most important part of the movie really. To wrap it up, and I think that's probably part of the portion of why I felt empty. It's because it felt like a lot of modern endings that we have nowadays, where there's some big stuff happening, but it's very empty in what it's what the foundation of it is. And I think for me, like coming out of it like that, and having all the little nitpicks that you can have about, the Force business and Star Killer Base, really like kind of sullied the rest of the movie that I really enjoyed, the first 2/3 of it, which is where the mixed feelings came from me. And every time I do rewatch it, it's always the ending that always goes like for me every time I'm there.
For me, it lost me when Han and Chewie came through the port, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was with it for at least another half hour after that.
I mean, I was still looking for good bits, and I was still, invested.
Yeah.
Personally wanting to like it. I mean, but that was the point when I thought, okay, I'm clearly not going to like this, even if I try, which I did.
Yeah, I got
that's
kind of
the
lost
thing.
when they got onto Star Killer Base.
Yeah, Star Killer Base was when it started going downhill for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a planet-sized base, and they showed us 3-4 corridors.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, why does it have to be this much bigger than the
It
Death
has to be
Star?
bigger and better.
Yeah, I guess
It
so.
can't possibly be the same. It has to be better. It has to take out entire star systems. Next film, which by the way, how they're going to escalate the threat now, is going to be galaxy-spanning gun. And then the next time it'll be the universe.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really know where they're gonna go. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
how
know
do
that
they
they're
up it
gonna have
from
this whole
now?
conflict with Kylo and Rey and like the training, all that stuff. But other than that, like, in terms of the galactic
Well-
scope, where are they gonna go?
I mean, we've got to have the
but
Empire
if you-
Strikes Back next.
but
so
if-
the threat
Yeah,
has to
but
come
if you're right, if you compare A New Hope and Empire to this, it should be smaller scale and character based, and
That's
the
true.
conflict shouldn't. It should be. I don't know that it will be. I can't predict them
Hopefully
anymore.
it will be.
But the thing is, what story are these characters going to be told? Because they're on separate paths. Finn and Rey are now firmly separated.
That's how Empire. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. But this feels more like Empire to me than A New Hope in some ways. It's
kind
like
of
in terms of
merging.
structure.
Yeah.
So that's the note Empire ended on. So I
I
guess
think
it
this
could
is
work.
gonna be like, this is gonna be the training montage of dark side, light side, and then the clash of that, and then light side losing. I bet you that's what it's gonna be.
I'd like a flashback where someone just tells me what the hell's happening.
Yeah,
Like, that's all I want. To me, this is.
Episode 8
Yeah, this was kind of like if you gave me, who knows nothing about Tolkien's work, if you gave me Fellowship of the Ring and you didn't give me the prologue, the rest of the movie could be good, but I don't know what's going on.
You don't know what the
Like
stakes are.
they reference Sauron and he's doing this. Like, who is that? Without that opening scene, I don't know. They got
That's a good
that was who
point.
Snoke is to me. You know,
That's how they
it's like
mentioned Snoke too several times. They just kept saying
Yeah.
his name as if we knew exactly like
Yeah.
who this guy
Exactly.
is.
Right.
Or, like
That's
Leia
I
says, "Oh,
totally
it's Snoke
agree.
who's doing it," and Han's like, "No, it's just Snoke." It's like, but who is Snoke really? Like,
Yeah.
And its introduction as well, like the fact that every single person that knew anything about Star Wars, and even those who didn't, went, no, 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 no. And, oh,
Giant,
thank
yeah.
God. Like, that's the
Yeah.
reaction pretty much
But
everybody
why
has.
do that?
when
Why
he was a
even make us
hologram.
think that?
I
Like,
know.
Why is that
It's
even? Why is that even compelling for you to even put there? Like,
It's
hey guys, he
pointless.
might be a giant.
So what the
But why?
So what?
Why even make us think that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, but he's got an ego, so they had to build a giant throne for this giant hologram to sit on. It's like, okay.
Well,
Unless
That's
he
the
is
sort of
actually
thing
a
that
giant,
Exarch.
he could still be a giant.
Oh,
I'm hoping. Well, you know what? He could be. He could
He
still be a
could
giant.
seriously still be a giant. But I bet you
I
anything,
mean-
they'll if he is, then they'll read the reviews of how stupid it is and go, shit, that was a bad idea. Quick, write it out.
Or they'll make him tiny.
Oh God. have the gimmick
It's
of
even
like
more
have the
ridiculous.
gimmick of the Yoda shadow,
That would really be the Wizard of Oz.
and it comes out and it's like a tiny little. Jeez. Size matters not.
That'd be awful.
Oh, what's the bet that he's big actually? In the first line that comes out of Rey's mouth when they engage is size matters not, because Luke teaches it to her.
Who knows?
So how do I fight something that big? And Luke just goes, size matters not. It's like, what does that mean?
oh, you just he's so big that he can't possibly hit you. Just run up to him and cut his ankles.
That's how he's defeated.
You know as well he's going to be a sorcerer, not a saber user.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he should be.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
Sidious and Yoda should have been.
Yeah,
I haven't got a problem with Yoda using a lightsaber because he was a great warrior.
I
it's
don't have a
not.
problem. I don't have a problem with either of them using lightsabers. I just think they use their lightsabers poorly. Like they should have been super efficient fencing style masters, not acrobats.
Yoda should have been the Zen, kind of sidestepping every stripe and immediately jumping up type, not
But-
the spinning acrobatic style. But anyway,
I
that's
don't-
Well, we got like a 2-hour video explaining about
Yeah.
Sidious being a crappy
Yeah.
duelist. We don't need to bring that up again.
I'm
there's
I'm
no-
with Antoine on that one though. I don't want to see Snoke.
Oh no,
fighting.
I don't. But I'm just saying they
Nah.
definitely won't because
wanna
of
see
the
that.
whole thing.
Just
about
the
how
original
it
trilogy,
backfired.
Palpatine, please.
Yeah.
Or him like he is a giant and he has this giant lightsaber. Yeah.
It's just
Don't even go there.
yeah.
All right,
They get
Kylo
the
Ren,
best
let's spar.
Oh god.
It'll probably be like an illusion-based thing. Like he'll bring him into his mind and he'll be huge and like swat them, like in X-Men Apocalypse kind of trailer.
Or
Anyway,
again, just-
way off
what the
topic.
hell is
All right, cool. We've been going for hours.
Yeah, there's one more thing we haven't
Yeah.
covered that we need to. Who was grossly and 100% horrifically disappointed in the musical score, or rather lack of?
I was
one?
disappointed, but it was really like
It was
Can
very
you,
like
can you think of a
fun.
single piece that isn't original Star Wars music? Like even
No,
Phantom Menace gave
I-
us your
just
it
just
was
Ray's
all on the
theme.
cob.
That's it.
it was completely forgettable.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
We've reached the 4-hour mark on the webcam. Stop it.
Are you
Alright,
serious?
we had a
I'm
brief
here. Yeah,
technical
what's up? What's
issue.
up? What's going on?
Sorry about
Start
that.
it.
We had a brief technical issue there.
I'm
We've
here.
been on Skype for too long, so it kicked us off the webcams. Where were we? Musical score. Yeah. I mean, we had Corn on the Cob from Phantom Menace, and that release was good and stands out. But I can't think of a single piece of music from this
There's-
one that did.
Yeah, there's in every
very
other
underwhelming,
movie.
I guess.
In every other
Yeah.
movie, there's at least one piece that you go home remembering or thinking about. Like in this one,
I can hum Duel of Fates. I can hum Across the Stars. I can hum Battle of the Heroes, Imperial March, the Force theme, like Yoda's theme. Like I
Yeah.
can do all. You know.
The Emperor's
that's it.
theme.
Yes, that one's really cool because it's very eerie.
Yeah, but there's just nothing in this one. It's like I don't want to say the music is bad because it wasn't.
Yeah, it's
'cause
not.
No, it
was
wasn't
not.
bad.
If it
Not
was
just it
bad.
wasn't
if
there.
it-
Really.
It was just underwhelming, really.
Yeah,
It was like-
it was,
it was like ambient. It
Yeah.
just it suits a Star Wars setting, but it didn't.
There was no
I'm not.
theme.
I can't remember any of it.
Never
It
gonna-
didn't feel like a
literally
space
can't.
opera in that sense. Like space operas are supposed to be like this big
And-
bombastic thing.
Which also goes to like my feeling about the pacing. I didn't feel like the scenes were given moments to breathe. Like the scene where like Luke's just looking at the twin sunsets. And, like all you think about, you associate the music with that scene.
and it's
There's no
beautiful
scene
and-
like that. There's not a scene where like somebody's thinking about what the
Reflecting.
hell just happened.
They
yeah.
try for a second when Rey gets on the Maz Kanata's planet for a second, like when she looks out and sees all the green and stuff like that. She closes her
Yeah.
eyes, but it's so
I didn't know
short.
so much green could exist. So you've
Yeah.
never read anything ever, pretty much.
Well, I got the poetic. I mean, it's cornball as hell, but I mean that line didn't it didn't like offend me. Like I was like whatever.
I mean,
Yeah, the
she
closest
can
thing was
build
that, but it
ships,
was so short-lived.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Okay, we need to
But
wrap
that's
up.
pretty much
Wrap up,
everything.
wrap up, wrap up.
Yeah.
For a while,
Are we gonna
Um,
give ratings, or are we just? I mean, we already gave our thoughts at the beginning.
Yeah, they have our thoughts. They need to point us in the system. But yeah, as a Star Wars film, from what it should have been, from my perspective, I hated it. What it is, a new film for new fans or whatever, I don't understand why people like it and think it's entirely mediocre. But if it was any other film and it wasn't a Star Wars film, I'd say it was average. Below average, massively for a Star Wars film, though. That's basically my opinion.
Yeah.
Is there an order to this? Are we all like giving our wrap up thoughts?
Yeah.
Sorry, I spoke
Okay.
first. Matt then next,
Sorry.
I guess.
Okay. I like the characters. It might be a fun time at the theater. If you're gonna see it, go see it with an audience. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be watching it that many times in my life though.
Neither
So
Antoine?
I'm done.
Oh, what? Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much the same as what my first thoughts were, which was really enjoy the characters and the story, but not the specific plotting and the third act. Like, really, for me, this movie is pretty perfect for 2/3 of it. But then when it really gets into like the meat of the story, where conclusions get to, that's where it really loses me. And then by extension, the rest of it is sullied. But you definitely can have a fun time watching this movie, like easily. Like it is a fun movie to watch. It's a very watchable movie. But it wasn't the impactful Star Wars movie that I was wanting. Like, for instance, when I was thinking back on it, when I watched the what was it? I think it was the first full trailer, the one that had the Luke Skywalker voiceover, and it says, like, the Force is strong in my family, and then they have all the imagery. The feeling I got from that, and what I thought that would translate into the movie, was what I was seeking. And at the end of the movie, it's not what I received, and that is the biggest failing of the movie for me. Though it's not a complete failure, because I do feel like it is still an enjoyable adventure, but it's not what I was looking for ultimately.
This wasn't the movie. This is not the movie you were looking for.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my attitude on this movie very much tends towards the negative, but not super hardcore negative. It wasn't a bad movie. I think we can all agree on that. It wasn't actively bad, but the problem is that it was just really bland and derivative. It was kind of made as on one hand, as a rebuttal to the prequel trilogy, and is really trying to distance itself from the prequels to its detriment, because there is some good stuff in the prequels that this movie would have benefited from. And the other thing is the fact, and the other thing is, well, it's like what Matt said earlier. It's like, this is the Star Wars best hits compilation performed by a second-rate band. It's basically a fan film.
Yeah.
Written by people who aren't fans of the expanded universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seven next.
Yeah, I kind of have similar opinions as everyone. Like, it's an enjoyable film overall. Like, again, just as a movie, like, ignore the previous film, ignore all the continuity. It's a fun time. Like, you will have a fun time watching this for what it is. But just as a Star Wars movie, it just really it just fell short for me. I did enjoy it, and and in some ways I would recommend it. I did enjoy the characters. I enjoyed a lot of the ideas they put forth. But at the end of the day, just something wasn't there, and it's a little hard to explain. But yeah, I'm not really. I liked it, but I'm not like over the moon about it.
Yeah.
For my money, I will take Legacy of the Force over this any day of the week.
Yeah. And again, like, not awful. Like, I didn't hate myself coming out of it, but I think it's like, I don't know. It's like, it was so disappointing that I think I almost would have preferred it to be terrible, because then at least I would know definitively where the film stood. It's just with this, is there are good things about it, but the fact that it just falls short in so many other ways is just that much more disappointing for me.
It's like less than the sum of its parts, or however that phrase
Exactly.
goes. Like there's things that I like about it, but it's very unfulfilling experience toward
Yeah.
the end for me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, the ending is where it falls apart for me too.
Mm-hmm.
So those are our thoughts, guys.
Yeah.
We're a bit rambly on that one, but we're kind of on point, I think, for most of it. We'll see. Let us know what you think of it.
If they don't get where we're standing by this point, I don't know what else more we could say. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's rare that we're all in relative sync. I think I dislike it the most, which again is a rare occurrence in of itself. But
I was expecting to outright hate this thing. And
Yeah, I
you know,
was expecting you to hate it too. I was actually really
Yeah, I
surprised
was
when you were like,
surprised.
"I have mixed feelings." I was like, "What?"
it's a rare occurrence when I hate something more than you do.
Yeah, I mean, well, none of us are like over the moon about it. I would say.
nope.
No.
No.
I mean,
Well,
Antoine,
I
are
think
you
it just
most
comes-
Impressed, most enjoyed. Did you enjoy it the most? Is what I'm trying to say. I speak English. Do you reckon, or
Me?
no? Antoine, sorry. I think Antoine enjoys it the most, right?
I think me and Evan are pretty uneven. Like we both
Yeah.
like it, but like I never like I was saying when I was talking to my friends, like I wasn't really sure where to put it within the prequel trilogy, and just
Yeah,
me
exactly.
saying that, they were like, "What? Like, well, why would you even like put it in that ballpark?" Kind of.
This
a
is
thing.
not the greatest Star Wars movie ever made.
Oh no, it's very much in between prequel and originals.
Yeah.
And in terms of what it's done, prequels wipe the floor with it because the prequels springboarded the entirety of that era's EU. And
Yeah.
more. But
Again, there's a lot to
proof by
like, but there's so
definition
much.
and
But there's so
world
much to dislike. It just brings it down.
Yeah.
It just brings it
for
down.
all of the prequel trilogy's failings, the prequel trilogy at least had an ambition that this movie completely lacks.
Yeah.
Do you expect the Force to have awoken when you finish this film? It has not. It is digressed. Digressed.
Yeah, it's basically just the Force kind of waking up, looking at its alarm clock, and it's just like, oh wait, it's Saturday.
Snooze.
Regressive.
Star Wars, the snooze button in theaters.
Basically, yeah. Let's see what happens next. That's all this is. What's in the next?
That really
film.
is what it is, though. I feel like towards the end, it really is like, come and see the next one. Like,
Right,
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a tease. Like, we didn't really give you enough information, so figure out the rest of the answers. Like in the next one, like it didn't
Yeah.
feel like it was a complete story. Like it didn't feel like it was a self-contained story.
Because that's how you should interact with your audience. Yeah.
And nobody likes
Yeah.
that. Like, nobody's ever liked that.
Well, we know
Like,
that
the-
about the audience. given
It's like the
Well-
Matrix Reloaded, not Star Wars.
Right.
And we got to wait 2 years as well.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
they're basically just trying to create a Star Wars cinematic universe. I know
Mm-hmm.
Disney is staying pretty hands off with Lucasfilm, but that is the edict that we know they gave Lucasfilm. Make a Star Wars cinematic universe so we can rake it in.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's a shame.
Otherwise,
I mean,
why
even the
spend that
Marvel
amount of
humor
money
is
on it?
coming through as well, so we know they're trying
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, thoroughly
So, yeah,
underwhelming to terrible, and is basically our general opinion. Underwhelming
Thoroughly
to terrible.
underwhelming to terrible.
Well, it would have been great to have that. Okay, I'm reading an article right now where it says that we had an idea about R2 plugging into the information base of the Death Star, and that's how he was able to get the full map and find where the Jedi temples are. Can we get at least that explanation in the movie? Like, why do you have to say that in an interview? That was
I
J.J.
know.
Abrams who said that.
Yeah.
I know it goes back to what I say about a lot of the stuff that George Lucas says about the prophecy of the chosen one. Your word doesn't count. If it's not established in the film, it's not established at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Good
think
point.
like just the overall impression I have when you look at the original trilogy and like the proof of this, you don't need to prove it. It's just objective. Those movies inspired a lot of people. It's tough for me to imagine somebody being inspired by this. I think that's the difference.
It's too derivative for it to be
Yeah.
inspirational.
It's just
Yeah,
another film.
it's like
This
people
film
talk, like-
isn't breaking any new boundaries.
yeah, but I think that's what
Anywhere.
people wanted it to be. Like
Yeah.
people, like that's what I think people might have gone in expecting. This is like the most overhyped thing you can have is another Star Wars movie.
It was A New Hope,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it fell flat.
hmm
There is another, but we don't know if that other will help.
Yeah.
Oh
A
man, you're
New
just
Hope was
piling on the references, Evan.
A New
Someone has
Hope
to.
was helped. Yeah.
I like that one.
A New Hope, when it was originally released, had the benefit of novelty value because no one had ever seen a movie on this level with this much
No one
visual.
even thought it would work.
Yeah,
they were thinking
no one
it was
thought it would
ridiculous
work.
when they were filming it.
But But the thing is, in this day and age, today, movies like that are commonplace. It's like you can't just make a rehash of A New Hope and expect it to excel and succeed when it's being pitted against the likes of, Avengers Age of Ultron, which I thought was fantastic. Flawed, but great.
Never saw it.
Really? I mean, that's a
I
different
thought-
conversation entirely.
Yeah, entirely different.
Yeah,
but based
yeah,
on
well-
I thought it was entirely average as well.
Like, for
Wow.
instance, okay, this is I'm getting off topic again, but again, in terms of
Anyone
films,
that
We've gone
isn't
off
interested
topic
is already
like
left
7
anyway.
times
I
in the
know.
span of like 10
I'll,
minutes
I'll,
now.
I'll end it right now. This is us signing off, but really quickly, as an experience of a movie that I had that isn't even Star Wars. Like, someone on Facebook put up a thing about how much they love Creed, the new Rocky movie or whatever. I had a way more emotional, like, catharsis in that movie than I did for Star Wars, which is what I was expecting. Like, I wanted to have that, like, emotional, just like feel good at the end, which like, my friends had, like, when they watched it, and I just didn't get. And for me to like enjoy a movie about a boxer, like me, like being a nerd and all that, you know what I mean? Like, that not even being my world, that's someone else's world, and me like feeling more connected to that than I did to this was one of the things that troubled me coming out of the movie. So as an example,
Felt betrayed almost.
that's what I felt like. Yeah, my emotions were not satisfied, and whatever. Anyway, this is Antoine. See you guys later.
The council senses a disturbance in the force, but we'll have to wait 2 years to see if it.
A year and a half. Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Year and a
okay,
half.
year and a half. To see if it holds out. Fingers crossed. Until then,
All right,
Rogue
let's-
One.
All right,
Rogue One
then.
looks good. Ready for signing off?
Gensur I1 signing off.
Evan Nova 95. We hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
hey, I'm not the only one that's bad at saying goodbye. I have no goodbye, and you. Oh, thank God. I just still
You
can't.
you guys signed off. Evan didn't sign off, and so I just didn't know what to say. I just like,
You steal Connors. That's what I did. I say signing off.
Just sign off.
are we still filming?
Yes.
We're out.